even want people talking about it. So let's make this go away. We got billions of dollars. We'll give them a couple $1 million, whatever it might be. And now we don't need this as a headline in the New York Times, on ESPN, and everywhere else for the next however many weeks, months, because we know what happens in court cases. They last forever. I just think we would be remiss if we didn't bring up that could be part of it from the NFL side of things, to say that's what happens in settlements, Big companies don't want bad press. Mm-hmm. And so I think there could have been an element here of, we're not sure if we're going to win this or not. We might win this. We think we can. But I don't want to talk about it for the next year, so let's just write them a check.
No, and that's a great point, too. Obviously, the NFL is a business that makes, billions and billions of dollars. My question is this, and this is kind of maybe getting off on a tangent a little bit, but it's something I've always been kind of curious with. Like when the NFL started the whole pink thing where they got into breast cancer awareness, a big part of that obviously was because they try to get the female audience involved in watching NFL. I mean, I understand they're trying to raise awareness, but let's be honest, there's also a lot of money made off that pink gear too as well. So if the NFL is really concerned about, I guess, racial equality and whatnot, and social equality, which, they have programs in place and whatnot, but then why wouldn't they have something like a race equality month? Where each player can, maybe put a spotlight, kind of, maybe like a charity or something like that, where they can, just kind of put those things in the forefront, as opposed to, like this Susan G. Komen, like the breast cancer awareness thing, or even like Military Appreciation Month. That's a great cause too, they get like the camouflage cleats, camouflage gear. Well, why don't they try to incorporate some kind of like racial equality month?
Well, I would say this, my cause, my cleats. Thing that they do in December, which is kind of cool, really. Mm-hmm. I probably should know more. I don't think there's been limitations on what people can wear on their cleats.
No, there's
and
not
guys talk
limitations
about
to
that
that
for weeks, and now that's a week. It's not just a 1 week thing. Now it's almost like a month-long thing in December. So,
but I'm saying,
doesn't that gives that opportunity
a little bit? But I'm saying if racial equality is the big factor here, it's what Kaepernick, took a knee for. Well, then why doesn't the NFL do something and make a whole month about it?
Well,
because we do it with breast cancer, we do it with military.
Well, and by the way, now it's not just a breast cancer thing; it's a cancer across the board thing in October. Mm-hmm. So it did start that way, though. You're right. I would say, again, I'm sitting here defending the NFL. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just trying to play the other side of it.
I understand.
And from that standpoint, I think it's still too fresh, Austin. I think you might, again, they're trying to distance themselves from this whole Kaepernick situation. Now, what happens on the other side? They have contributed dollars. Teams have started their own initiatives to start programs to help this in a variety of ways. It's not just a blanket statement. But do we see in 2 or 3, 4 years down the line, maybe this collusion case part of the settlement? Do we see in a couple years, maybe next year, that there is more attention to it? I don't know. We don't know those answers. But it's still fresh. This is still in its infancy somewhat within the last few years. Again, so much more to get to, and I apologize. I didn't get to the Tebow angle of this. I will. But we also will have to talk a little NASCAR coming up. And NASCAR mixes with MMA. Does everything mix with MMA?
MMA's taking over, Brent, whether you like it or not.
All right, live from Daytona Beach, Daytona International Speedway. More to come on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the Anthony Davis saga continues over in the NBA despite there being no chance he gets traded for another few months. Today, the New Orleans Pelicans announcing they're parting ways with GM Dell Demps. Sounds like not being able to rein in their disgruntled superstar was the main factor.
New Orleans owner Gail Benson was especially livid last night, I'm told, with Anthony Davis leaving the arena before the game was over. He had an injured shoulder. And left the building during the win over Oklahoma City.
Elsewhere in the NBA, Russell Westbrook extends his record for consecutive games with a triple-double, and boy, did he go in last night. Westbrook putting up 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against New Orleans. There is nobody playing better basketball right now than Russell Westbrook. Apologies to the Beard and the Greek Freak, but Russell Westbrook is locked in. And tonight, the NBA's Rising Stars Challenge takes center stage at All-Star Weekend. Tip-off at 9 right here on ESPN 690.
Want to put more presidents back in your pocket? Then get to the President's Day sale going on now at Arlington Toyota. Arlington Toyota has over 1,000 new and used on the lot every day, and every single one of them is discounted with big-time President's Day savings. During the President's Day sale at Arlington, you can buy a 2019 Camry LE from just $19,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Camry LE from just $19,888. During the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, you can buy a 2019 Toyota CHR from $16,988. That's a pre-owned 2019 Toyota CHR from just $16,988. Check out Arlington's free iPrecheck service. Powered by TransUnion, the easy way to check your real credit without affecting your credit score. No Social Security number required. It's the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota. Shop today in person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. Arlington Toyota is giving away $100 plus $500 off a new or used vehicle purchase. Follow Arlington Toyota on Facebook and Twitter to be the first to track the Toyota and claim your prize.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you've received a letter from the IRS and can't pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. The number again, 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
Now you have a bunch of young guys who found out we were all on the trade block. Now that trade didn't go through, so I agree with Magic, and you got to put on your big boy pants, but we all don't know how everybody's going to deal with it.
Go Lick and Wingo, weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio. Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Brent Martineau along with Austin Lane. Coos back in the studio. What's happening, Coos?
Not much, man. Just chilling out. It looks like you guys are enjoying it better than I am.
I'd say it is absolutely gorgeous. We just got a nice little cool breeze coming in. I mean, it's not hot. I've been down here so many times now, all different kinds of weather, but today is a fantastic day. So glad to be here. Coos, I wanted to give you an attaboy.
Uh-oh.
Easy.
Yeah, I know. I don't like to compliment.
Yeah,
Coos,
I know. Mister, I don't like to give compliments. Give him all kinds of compliments.
Well,
right
I know, but listen, I hammered Valentine's Day yesterday.
You really did.
Right?
You're passionate.
And I did that, but I also, as I was leaving and packing up to go out of TPC Sawgrass, I saw Nicole, and that's Coos' girlfriend.
Yep.
Better half.
Yep. Which I still haven't met, by the way.
She had roses. So Coos had ordered the roses for the significant other. So he did a nice job on Valentine's. So good job, Coos.
Thanks, man. I was wondering. I was starting to sweat because it was like 5 o'clock and she hadn't texted me about them yet. So I was like, oh, man, are they going to actually bring them?
Did she get you anything
They did bring them. All right, hey, we're going to get Jeffrey Earnhardt on here. So I want to give you a seat, Jeffrey, so you come on over here and I'll get up.
I can get up, too. It's whatever.
All right, you give Jeffrey your seat. How
All
about
right,
that?
man. Since I'm still kind of like the intern around here.
Yeah,
so go ahead,
yeah.
Jeff. And then I'll just come around here.
We have to, oh, yeah.
Oh, we got okay.
Look, Jeffrey knows how to get it. He just went and stole a seat.
Good stuff, man.
That's a good way to do it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man. Good to have you. Thanks for, hey, Coos, we still on? Okay, good. I just wanted to say my machine says connect, so that scares me. Usually it says disconnect if we're on, but okay. Hey, man, glad to see you. How you doing? Let me make sure I got you loud and clear up here. Yeah, there you go. Hey, I got to play engineer. We got to do a little bit of everything. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane.
What up, man?
Jeffrey Earnhardt, and there's no cage around here, but we are going to talk a little MMA.
We have to.
That's awesome. Austin's a professional MMA fighter.
Are you?
I am, yeah.
Former Jacksonville Jaguar player.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
Also played 5 years in the NFL, but 3 years with the Jags. He was a draft pick, and just started a radio career too. He's got a fight coming up in March.
You got a fight coming up in March?
Got a fight coming up here in Jacksonville in March. Yeah, I can't announce yet because I haven't signed the contract yet. But yeah,
that's exciting.
Fight in March, absolutely, man. I fought in Myrtle Beach. I fought in Vegas before, so I fought all around, man. It's a good time. And obviously, you know a little something about it too.
I did a amateur fight. I didn't do a pro fight.
No, still though, man. Hey, it's still fighting at the end of the day. So I mean, let's get right into it. What made you want to take that amateur fight? I mean, do you have like a jiu-jitsu background, a grappling background?
I wrestled. I wrestled in high school, so I had a lot of appreciation for like the discipline aspect side of that.
Absolutely.
You know, I thought it was cool and it was a good like training method for me. You know, so I was only racing the part-time schedule, and my buddy's like, man, just come to the gym. He, state champ wrestler out of Oviedo, Florida. Boxed as a kid growing up, but he never done MMA. Well, he's like, just come work out. I was like, man, I'm not gonna go down there and get my butt kicked. You know, I'm gonna go get beat up. And he's like, nah. He's like, it's not like that. So I went down there. I was like, I'll come do it for like a workout routine. So I, didn't get fat sitting on the couch eating potato chips when I wasn't racing. And went down there and had a lot of fun and just really enjoyed it. And the guy's like, man, he's like, with your wrestling background, you give me 2 months and you'd be able to take on a fight with a guy that we could pair you up with, of the similar skill level, and you probably have a good chance at winning it. And one thing led to another. I was like, screw it, let's do it. I ain't got nothing to lose, and away we went. So luckily I won, and the guy couldn't stop a takedown, and I take him down and beat him up on the ground.
There you go.
That's awesome. By the way, I want to show you something here, Jeffrey. See this? We also have like a camera. And the shots never look better because Austin squeezed out of it.
Easy, Brent.
Pushed him out.
Easy, man. Hey, I figured I'm at Daytona, man. Like, I'm gonna wear the sleeveless shirt. Like, yeah. What are you hating on me for, Brent?
Well, listen, he's like, we were at a golf course yesterday. I said, you got to put a polo shirt on,
which I was obviously pissed off about. You know what I'm saying? So this is a little payback.
So this is like he's going out and partying in the RV land out there after they're in the infield.
I don't blame you.
He'll fit just in.
So I have to ask you, man. From MMA to racing, what gives you more of a rush? Because like when I played football, I mean, I played in front of 80,000 people, but like one of my first fights was in a honky tonk with like 200 people, and that was a bigger rush than even playing in front of 70,000 people. So where do you get the bigger rush from?
So the bigger rush is definitely racing, but like obviously I'm a thrill seeker. Yeah, I like that rush. I like that feeling. Adrenaline junkie. So the MMA thing, I was like, man, it's like this has got to be it. This is going to give me to that excitement that I get driving a race car. And it was definitely pretty close. And just that feeling of, you're locked in a cage and the better man wins. There's no timeouts. There's no let me out of here. It's either you get your butt kicked or you win.
Yep.
And I would say it's like. It would be similar to a race if you condense it down into 9 minutes or what 3-minute rounds. So I would say it was pretty close, but not near. I mean, hell, today out there on pit road waiting to roll off. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, you're so amped up. I'm like shaking. And I'm like,
I got to start racing, I guess.
Dude, it is quite the rush.
You'd fit in pretty well going 200 miles an hour around this thing. It's
I don't know, the hair might be kind of a problem.
But you thrill seek like that.
I'm a thrill seeker.
You got to do it sometimes.
I'm going to have to.
They'll give us a ride. I haven't been 200 miles an hour, but I think last time I was out on that track, we went like 165 in like a Toyota Camry or something like that. I don't know what
really
it was,
good.
But it was a lot of fun on the high banks. Just to give us an update on your racing this weekend. Part-time on the Xfinity Series, part-time on Monster Cup Energy Series, Monster Energy Series. What are you doing this weekend? How often will you race this year?
So I was very fortunate, one, with my sponsors. They came on board last year, IK9 and Extreme Concepts. They came on board last year and got behind me and wanted to give me a good opportunity. We signed up for some cup races, and it didn't really pan out the best we had hoped, but it was seat time, and we sat back and we said, all right, where can we go and run and be successful and have good finishes and race for wins? And there was no real good opportunities there on the cup side, so we said, well, let's see what's on the Xfinity side. And the first thing that came to mind was Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, the dominance that they show in the Xfinity Series is incredible.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't want to drive for Coach? I mean, he's done the football side and done very well there, and he's done very well on the racing side as well. So
He's got all sorts of trophies.
Tons, yeah, plenty.
Does that make you a Redskins fan too? I mean, are all the Earnhardts Redskins fans?
I think I have to pull for the Redskins now. So.
I'm sorry about that, but we're from Jacksonville, so we get it.
But we got to talking, and luckily, when we came to Gibbs and asked if they would be willing to put me in a car, they didn't have to accept our money, and they welcomed me in to be part of the family, and that meant a lot to me. So we signed up with Gibbs for 9 races, and we had flirted around with the idea of Extreme Concepts starting Extreme Concepts Racing and starting their own race team. And if we did it, we knew we would want to be tied with a good corporation like Joe Gibbs Racing. And so we flirted back and forth with what their thoughts were and what they could do for us. And they said, look, we can do this many races, and we can help supply you with stuff for X, Y, and Z and a alliance program. So we said, all right, well, let's do it. And so Extreme Concepts Racing, not only have they been my sponsor, but now they're starting a race team to be able to field me in a competitive car every weekend. So for this year, we added 5 more races in the Xfinity Series with the Joe Gibbs Alliance, and then the 2 Cup races at Talladega. They're based out of Anniston, Alabama, which is just outside of Talladega. And what makes more sense than to go run 2 Cup races at their home track? So
there you go.
It's very exciting, and it's cool to get more races than what you thought you originally were going to get with the 9 races. But just getting the opportunity to be involved with a great group like Joe Gibbs Racing and see how the other side of the world does it, because I've always been with underfunded teams, and now I'm seeing it I'm like, man, like how these drivers getting out and not sweating. The car does everything you want it to do. So
give us a sense of that, though. I mean, is it really a have and have not kind of industry and sport because of that, what you just said? For layman's terms, for people listening, I don't think they know the ins and outs of that at times. But, I mean, man, you got a good car.
Yeah,
you got a good car. You put it in cruise control, it feels like. But that's taking something away from the driver. You're still going 200 miles an hour around this thing.
You're still having to drive it, but I'm telling you, not just how well the cars drive, but all the resources that they have thanks to their notebooks, Toyota's notebooks, and what Toyota's given them with the TRD program is just incredible. And it's all information that just makes me a better driver in the long run. So not only am I getting the opportunity to pilot a really, really good car, but I'm getting all the notes that it takes to better myself as a driver. Kind of like, y'all get practice and you get to work with really good guys on your team. That makes you better. Well, now I'm getting that opportunity here with Gibbs with getting to, go and race it and learn it and understand everything that goes on. They break it all down for you. They got all the, engineering notes that you can ever imagine to be able to show you what goes on and what makes the difference.
I've got to go down your family tree, okay? Because and I got a cheat sheet.
Oh, you're
Hopefully
good.
This is right.
Done.
All right. 4th generation NASCAR driver, younger brother of Bobby Dale Earnhardt, middle child of Kerry Earnhardt, makes you the nephew of Dale Earnhardt Jr., grandson of Dale Earnhardt Sr., great grandson of Ralph Earnhardt. Is that right?
Nailed it to the T.
Like when you're born, like do you have to sign something as soon as you can write that says I will at least try to get in a race car?
Not at all. Not at all. Honestly, I begged my dad for 2 years before he actually let me go race.
Really?
And he finally said, all right, you want to go race, you go find your sponsors and you go find your own car. And if you can do that, then I'll let you race. And honestly, I don't think he thought I could actually do it.
Wow.
And I did. I had some really great companies that were family friends in the area up in Withville, Virginia. One of them was Mark IV Honda and Suzuki, and the other one was Cedar Springs Fish Farm and Cedar Springs Sportsman Lodge. So I went to both of them and they said, look, yeah, let's do it. One of them had a car sitting there, and the other one had already sponsored other cars up at the dirt track. And I went to my dad. I was like, all right, I got a car and 2 sponsors. He's like, well, I guess you can go racing.
You did it. So you got to have the passion, man.
I do,
and you still carry that at 29 years old?
I do. And everyone asks me, they're like, man, like what made you keep on? Because I've not had the best rides. I've been very thankful for every ride because these rides don't come every day, and you got to appreciate every single one of them. But they weren't the best situation or the best equipment, and everyone's like, man, what made you stick on this long? And honestly, I think a lot of it's just knowing what my grandfather did in this sport and the legacy that he built behind the Earnhardt name. Obviously, is something I have a huge passion for and respect for. And when you hear the stories that the fans have to tell you and how much they just passionately love my grandfather, it's it's emotional. It's cool. to think that for 1 second I might have let him down would just be the end of my world. So I think that's really a lot of the driving force behind why I've stuck behind it this long and continued to fight and claw and scratch to get these opportunities, or this opportunity, to be able to drive for Joe Gibbs and be partnered with Joe Gibbs with the Extreme Concepts Racing side as well.
We're here with Jeffrey Earnhardt, obviously a driver here that's getting some work in this weekend at Daytona, but we'll bring it back to the MMA because I know Austin's
I was going to ask him.
One amateur
any
fight.
Chance, huh? Yeah.
One amateur fight.
Any chance of you taking another fight coming up here? I mean, I'm sure you're pretty busy right now, huh?
Yeah. Dude, I'll be honest. If I could get with the right group and be able to train, jits and do that, I would do it in a heartbeat. I just don't want to be like you go to MMA practice and you got a guy training for a match and you're shark tanking him. That guy's not very happy. So
no, for sure.
To go in there and risk potentially getting an arm broke because the guy's upset and it's not like that at every gym. Obviously.
No, it's not.
Some gyms are much better than
there
others.
There are some, I guess you'd call them unwritten rules that they go along with it.
So, but for me, physically wise, the best shape I've ever been in my entire life, and I gained a huge. I mean, I had respect for MMA fighters to begin with. But after going and doing it, it's, a huge, huge respect.
And how important is staying in shape? Important for race car driving, too, as well. I mean, it's got to be, obviously, you're sitting in a chair for 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours at the pop or whatever, but it's got to be taxing on your body as well.
It is very. And, the high heats, that late, late part of the race where you feel dead. You got to, get back up and go again, I'll be honest, I've translated a lot of what I learned doing the MMA fight into how I approach it and attack my race weekends because, when I did my MMA fight, I never got in fights in school, never picked fights anywhere else. I never fought.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if I'd even fight the guy,
Yeah.
And to learn how to go do MMA and actually come out and win it just showed me how hard I'm willing to work at something I had no clue about and be successful at it. And that fight where at the end of the second round, I'm like, man, I am just exhausted. And they're like, dude, you were winning this fight. All you gotta do is keep doing what you're doing. And I jumped right back up off the mat, and I was like, let's get it in. Let's go.
So I have to ask. So in your fight, did you go all 3 rounds?
We went, yeah.
Which is, people don't understand. You kind of have your first fight, especially. You have so much adrenaline built up, and then you go for the first couple minutes, and they call it an adrenaline dump. And that happens, man. So the fact that you went your first fight all 3 rounds is pretty admirable.
Dude, everyone told me that you got to watch the adrenaline dump. It's going to happen. It happens to everyone, and it did. At the end of the second round, I could have finished it the first round. I had a north-south, and I just wasn't 100% sure how to finish it.
Sure.
And I kicked myself in the ass every day for not finishing it the first round because I knew I had it.
Yeah.
But went all 3 rounds, won unanimous decision, and pretty much controlled the whole entire fight. The guy I fought was a Muay Thai fighter for a long time, and and I was like, man, I do not want to stand up with this guy. He's going to knock me out, So I'd blast double and take him to the ground and do work there. So it worked out good, but again, it really has. I feel like it's been a lot of my success and drive and will to stay in the sport and continue what I'm doing.
Hey, we're going to let you go in a moment. Jeffrey Earnhardt, you like your car
I do.
for tomorrow?
I do.
Talk about that for a moment, then I'll ask you one follow-up question.
So practice went really good. We're only 10th on the board, but man, we had a lot of stability, a lot of speed by ourselves, and a lot of speed where guys didn't seem like they had as much speed. We got stuck in the middle there. I feel like the 12 car might have been a little more stout than we were. He was able to get to our back bumper and push, and we never quite could. But I feel really confident in all 3 of the Joe Gibbs racing cars. Christopher was really, really good. He said he was a little bit free, but and then Brandon Jones as well was really good. We were all right there in the same group, so we shared a little notes that we had to discuss, and I think we'll be able to make the cars a little bit faster. And the big key here is being there at the end. I think if we're there at the end of the race, we have a pretty darn good chance of winning this thing.
Absolutely, especially at this track. And last one for you, novice NASCAR fan listening on ESPN 690 here. By the way, they get you all the way. We get you in Daytona Beach, so you can hear us loud and clear all the way up to South Carolina. But what makes a good driver? What's the separation? You talked about the cars. I understand that. But what's the difference between we see a quarterback and we know Tom Brady's better than a lot of guys.
Yeah.
What makes Jimmy Johnson's, the Dale Juniors, the What makes a better driver?
I think a lot of it is the understanding of every component that's going on in that car is a huge key to it, and just knowing what you could possibly do different, driving style, driving wise, and experience level obviously is a big help too. But just understanding like what a lot of that stuff is doing is a huge help. You see some of these guys and they just study, man. They study notes and they look back and honestly, this is my first opportunity getting to do that because they have the notes there for me. So it's been really exciting and a little more work, but I ain't scared of a little work. I've kind of enjoyed it, but it's really cool to see all these notes, and it makes sense as to why some of these guys are just so darn good. The Kyle Bushes of the world, they spend a lot of time studying notes and watching old races, and that's what we've done leading up to this race. And it's mental notes that you put in the back of your head, so late race, you know all the tricks that have worked in the past, and you just got to execute them and do them right.
That's awesome, man. Great catching up with you.
Yes,
and
sir.
Maybe we'll definitely see you here. Maybe we'll see you in a cage someday,
Yes,
too.
hey,
Well, I was going to say,
know.
man, I understand you're busy, but if you ever find yourself in Jacksonville, man, give me a holler. You can come on by. We get some training in, man. Open door policy for you.
One of my buddies actually has a fight in Jacksonville. Nick Rourke, he fought one fight in UFC.
Yeah, I know Nick Rourke. Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah.
He's actually here right now. He's over in the garage hanging out. But,
no kidding, man. Tell him I say what's up.
I will for
follow
sure.
his career for sure. Awesome.
All right, Jim.
No more cages for me. I don't know. I like racing too much.
Fair enough, man.
Well, go get it done tomorrow
Yes,
night.
sir.
Get that race car to Victory Lane, and take it easy on Scott Lagacy. He's our buddy from St. Augustine right down the road. Right?
All right, thank you.
Jeffrey Earnhardt. We'll be back on ESPN 690. A little more football talk coming up next.
It's Golick and Wingo.
Hall of Famer Tony Dungy. Rooney Rule in place. A lot of people say it's not working. What's going on with this, and what could be the remedy for this?
Ron Rivera, minority defensive coach, has been to a Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin, minority defensive coach, has won a Super Bowl. Anthony Lynn, minority running back coach. So that just kind of echoes my point. It doesn't have to be quarterback coach.
Golick and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Do you know a child that is deaf or blind? The Florida School for the Deaf and Blind in St. Augustine offers a tuition-free educational program to prepare the child for a lifetime of success. FSDB offers free comprehensive education, transportation, and boarding services at no cost to all eligible deaf or blind students elementary through high school, no matter where you live in Florida. Call 800-344-3737 or log on to www.fsdb.k12.fl.us to find out more.
Hi, it's Nathan from Gordon Chevy in Orange Park, where our no bull pricing and express sales process will have you out the door in a new Chevy fast. No bull means fast, fair, and transparent. It's what you can always expect at Gordon Chevy. And somehow, I fat-fingered the order for 2019 Colorados and ended up with over 100 in stock. So right now, you can get up to $4,000 off. That's the truck everybody's talking about, the Chevy Colorado. Only at the money-saving end of Blanding Boulevard and online at GordonChevy.com. Chevy, find new roads.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds. And most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690. Now, back to Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Hey, that was a lot of fun with Jeffrey Earnhardt, of course, from the Earnhardt family. And check him out tomorrow in that Xfinity race. you'll be able to see. We also had Scott Lagasse on earlier this week, local guy I just mentioned. He'll be in the race too, and a couple practices still going on for the Xfinity Series. Jeffrey Earnhardt will be in the 18 car on tomorrow. So,
dude, he was a cool guy, man.
Isn't that fun? Listen, that's what's fun. I don't think anybody. We don't talk NASCAR for 2 hours. We don't talk NASCAR every day on our show. And in Jacksonville, I do think at times it's a bit of an underserved audience, both on TV. I've said that before, and on radio, because I think in our area, when the Daytona 500 ratings come out Sunday, we will be next to like Birmingham and Charlotte and those places, one of the top markets in the country for the Daytona 500. So people do like it. But we don't talk about it a ton. That's the beauty of sports, is that you get a guy like Jeffrey Earnhardt, who's mixed in your world in the MMA, and obviously driving. He's got the big family name, too. I thought it was awesome to hear him talk about being an Earnhardt and why this still drives him to want to succeed and not let kind of that name down. Really interesting. You don't know that unless you live that if you have that last name.
Exactly, and just any guy that steps in the cage and has a fight, I have respect for, and just hearing him talk about it, hearing him how racing and MMA fighting actually have a lot of things in common was surprising to me. But you can definitely tell by his mindset that he's kind of an adrenaline junkie and he loves doing that kind of stuff. So it was cool to kind of just pick his brain a little bit and see what he's all about.
Yeah, good stuff. I do want to get back to we only have a couple minutes here. We went long with Jeffrey, but before we get to the top of the hour, so coming up in a couple minutes, we'll get back to the Kaepernick talk. And I've been saying, how does it relate to Tebow? And I'll tell you how.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear this.
Yeah. Here's one way it relates to Tebow. Did you see in that report that the AAF inquired about Tebow, too?
I did see
playing.
that. Yeah.
And
obviously he said no.
He said no. But I'll tell you why they both don't want to play in the AAF. And Tebow's reason is crystal clear, right? You would say he's trying to pursue baseball.
Yeah.
But I would say even 5 years ago, he wouldn't want to play in the AAF. So it's not about baseball as much. For both of these guys, it's not about what they're doing or what they're not doing. There's a bigger reason why. And I'll get to that point when we come back. And also, where do you stand on the Kaepernick front? Make sure you check us out on all the social media channels. Chime in on Twitter at Brent A.S. Jackson. Let us know what you think. We got Ballin' and Fallin' coming up. We also will talk a little Gators at 4:30 with Will Salmon from The Athletic. Stay with us, ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the Anthony Davis saga continues over in the NBA despite there being no chance he gets traded for another few months. Today, the New Orleans Pelicans announcing they're parting ways with GM Dell Demps. Sounds like not being able to rein in their disgruntled superstar was the main factor.
New Orleans owner Gail Benson was especially livid last night, I'm told, with Anthony Davis leaving the arena before the game was over. He had an injured shoulder and left the building during the win over Oklahoma City.
Elsewhere in the NBA, Russell Westbrook extends his record for consecutive games with a triple-double, and boy, did he go in last night. Westbrook putting up 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against New Orleans. There is nobody playing better basketball right now than Russell Westbrook. Apologies to the Beard and the Greek Freak, but Russell Westbrook is locked in. And tonight, the NBA's Rising Stars Challenge takes center stage at All-Star Weekend. Tip-off at 9 right here on ESPN 690.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from ESPN 690 and Action Sports Jacks, and we know who the football team of the year is. Yep, the Patriots again. What you may not know is my friends at the brand new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville have the North American Utility Vehicle of the Year. They raise that trophy. It's the new 2019 Hyundai Kona, and this is a super slick crossover utility vehicle. I encourage you to swing by the Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville showroom on Atlantic Boulevard and take a look at this new crossover utility vehicle. The Kona is offered in 4 trim levels: the SE, the SEL, the Limited, and the Ultimate. Go see my friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville and schedule a test drive and one of the new Konas today. And remember, Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is the home of the 7-day money-back guarantee and offers the limited lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States. Visit the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com.
Hey, it's Bill with Bill Fenwick Plumbing. I have yet to meet anyone that has woken up in the morning and said, "Hot dog, today I'm calling a plumber." Usually it's, who am I going to call and can they take care of me today? Yes, we know the stereotype. Dirty, smelly, probably late, and more than likely, you don't want him to bend over. If you need a plumber, call Bill Fenwick. See what our Golden Plunger service is all about. Call us or go to BillFenwickPlumbing.com.
Golic, did you know that Gatorade Zero has all the same electrolytes but with zero sugar?
I did know that because I drank some Gatorade Zero after I ran 2 miles at the gym this morning.
2? Please, I ran 3.
Did I mention I also was on a 6 incline?
You didn't, but that's interesting because that's 2 less than I was on.
Were you also running backwards? Because I was.
No.
Gatorade Zero, all the electrolytes with zero sugar, so you can get more out of zero.
And now, a quick comparison from Grasshopper. When a client calls, what do you want them to hear? Your personal voicemail?
Hey, you've reached Greg's cell phone. I'm away right now, obviously. Leave a message and maybe I'll get back to you.
Or something a little more buttoned up, courtesy of Grasshopper.
Thanks for calling Green Landscaping. To make an appointment, dial 1. For billing, dial 2. To speak with Greg Smith, dial
There's
3.
no contest. Put your best voice forward with Grasshopper, the virtual phone system for small business. Try it free at grasshopper.com.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. The NFL has settled the collusion grievances filed by former 49ers teammates Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid. In 2016, Kaepernick launched his kneeling protest against social injustice. Reid was the first 49ers teammate to join him. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports the Pelicans fired GM Dell Demps today. The Pels are 6 games behind the last playoff spot in the West. As for Coach Alvin Gentry, here's Wojnarowski.
Ownership's been pleased with how he's handled this. I think the players are still really playing hard for him and his staff. I think it's very likely he's going to finish the season out.
Wojnarowski reports team consultant Danny Ferry is likely to take over as the interim GM. NBA All-Star Weekend in Charlotte tonight at 7 Eastern on ESPN, the All-Star Celebrity Game. Then at 9 Eastern on ESPN Radio, we'll have the Rising Stars game. Golf, first-round play continues at the Genesis Open. Jordan Spieth, the leader at 7 under. Tiger Woods still on the course at 2 under par.
At Pizza Hut, you can carry out any large pizza with any toppings for just $10.99. Even Pizza Hut's pan meat lovers. Use code THANKYOU online or call for carryout today. Hurry, deal ends soon. Ask for offer. Additional charge or extra charge for extra cheese, stuffed crust, and over 5 toppings. Availability, price, and participation vary.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio. Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Welcome back here to Daytona Beach, Daytona International Speedway. Daytona 500 on Sunday. Of course, we'll have coverage all day long, and it starts at noon with our Road to Victory Lane special on Fox 30, a 1-hour show getting you set for the Daytona 500. Make sure you check that out. I'll be doing TV live here tonight. CBS 47 and Fox 30, 650, 1050, and 1120. So we'll be here all night long. You'll be heading back. And we'll have coverage all week from Daytona on both TV and radio. Well, our radio coverage will end at 6 o'clock. Hey, all that. Mm-hmm. You think they celebrate happy hour here in Daytona at the Speedway?
I mean, I think happy hours from sun up to sundown here, Brett. So, yeah, I'm sure they do.
But here on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690, it's right now, Coos. That's
Can
it,
I
the
shout it,
happy
Brent?
hour horn. What's that? Yeah.
Can I shout it? Grab a drink, grab a shot, tip your star tenders.
Speaking of, we just saw a guy that would rival you.
In what?
What was he holding? He was playing some game?
So, yeah, so where I come from back in college, we call it wizard sticks. And basically what it is every beer you drink, you if it's empty, you tape the empty ones to the more empty ones, and you kind of just get this giant stick to the point where it's kind of like a walking stick. hence the name Wizard Stick. So we saw these guys walking through here. Must have been about 12, 13 deep, Brent, wouldn't you say?
Am I supposed to know that game?
Wizard Sticks?
Because I don't know. I'm not very cool.
Yeah.
But in college 20 years ago, I don't remember that game. Is that somewhat
so
new? Is that
I'm
a
gonna
millennial game?
No,
Is
I
that
don't think so. The only time I've ever actually seen it was and I'm probably going to put them on blast a little bit, but I don't care because it was a long time ago. Our women's college basketball team used to always play that game for whatever reason. So that's the only time I've ever really seen it in person until today.
Right.
So leave it to Daytona 500 to really up the drinking games.
You'll see a lot that you haven't seen in a long time or ever.
Yeah, no,
here,
for sure.
At Daytona International Speedway. By the way, the other thing is I feel like because we're on the video portion of this, that I should be.
I'll stop flexing.
If you don't notice, I am flexing every time. Like I'm standing up straight.
Yeah.
And
great posture.
A little more flexing going on as I inflect.
Hey, I mean, I was kind of worried about wearing the sleeveless, but let's be honest, I fit right in with these people.
Yeah, no,
it's
you're
all
right
good.
At home, man.
Yeah, I'm right at home.
Right at home.
Yep.
So actually, somebody said on the feed, wherever it was, I don't have it in front of me now, but said, I'm loving Austin's muscle shirt.
Oh, yeah, man.
I don't know if they meant the muscles, but
no, it's all good.
The Saved by the Bell reference is fantastic.
And can we get it on record that Mr. Jeffrey Earnhardt said that I was showing off the guns, which implied I do have guns, and that's from an Earnhardt, Brent, and that's something that's not even worth its weight in gold. So I'm pretty excited.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Good day for me.
It's a very good day for you. Big story today is obviously the Colin Kaepernick news, and so I keep saying, all right, well, how does this relate to Tim Tebow? And I think they're alike in a lot of ways. I think these stories are alike in a lot of ways. And what you have to come with me on this for a moment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Colin Kaepernick's story is polarizing. Why? Because he kneeled down.
Yeah.
And if you are, it doesn't mean you agree or disagree if you're patriotic or not, but it tapped into that emotion of patriotism. It tapped also into the emotion of politics in a day and age where politics is about as divisive as we've seen it in some time. I think everybody will acknowledge that, whatever side you're on. I'm not getting into the politics of that. I think if you go back some years after, and by the way, Kaepernick from a football standpoint, you brought it up earlier in the show. Some people have brought it up earlier in the show. Got to a Super Bowl as a quarterback, showed some moments as a quarterback. Well, if you go back to Tim Tebow, Tebow obviously is this cult hero to many and so popular. And he has moments. I mean, that Denver year is about as in Denver is about as magical as you can get. I mean, this is an organization that has a history of success and has Super Bowls and has won a lot of games and has won thrilling games. And I'm not saying it's the top of the list, but in Denver that year, when they were winning some of those games in the final couple of minutes and making that run and then beating Pittsburgh in the playoffs, I mean, that is stuff that lives in Denver Broncos history and lore forever. And Tim Tebow helped engineer that. And this isn't a debate of, hey, how good was he during that stretch? The bottom line is he was part of it.
Yeah, no, agreed.
He was.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
So, because we could also debate how much of a part Kaepernick was and what he was doing, all this stuff. So I'm not debating their football prowess. But my point is, after that, they bring in Peyton Manning. Tebow goes away. He tries in New England, in Philly, and with the Jets. But even getting those opportunities was not easy for Tim Tebow. It was because people weren't sure how good he was as a football player, so they didn't want to bring in what I always like to call the circus, the attention for the backup QB in your locker room as a distraction, constant questions from reporters and media in your locker room, and then the fans really saying, Tebow, Tebow. Well, from that sense, though, isn't Kaepernick a lot alike, where you don't know how good of a football player he is? He might be your backup QB. Do you want your backup QB kneeling during the national anthem and all these distractions coming with it?
Listen, nobody had a problem with Tebow kneeling. I think people had more of a problem with
Tebow, the kneeling thing is not.
No, I'm sorry, not the.
You mean Kaepernick kneeling?
But no, yeah. So let's take it back.
I'm not talking about
kneeling,
Tebow-ing. Okay, that's not part
Tebow-ing. No, okay. So no one really. Okay, from a fan perspective, I don't think anybody really had a problem with Tebowing or, him, being super religious in the NFL and always, making comments about that. That wasn't the issue. The issue that people had and that fans had was the media perception of it. I think people got tired of ESPN. I don't want to, put us in a bad light, but people got tired of all the sports broadcasting companies talking about Tim Tebow all the time because he wasn't the best quarterback. He probably wasn't even the top 10 best quarterback. But here, this guy got more shine and got more mentions on sports shows than anybody. So I think from a fan perspective, people were tired of that. Now, let's go to Kaepernick for a second. That,
by the way, in the Tebow front, just for people to know, you lived it a little bit.
You
were
I
at
was
the
all
Senior
about
Bowl
it.
with
Yeah,
Tebow. You
I was
came
all
in
about
with
it.
Tebow in that class in 2010.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
It was real. So the Kaepernick front, where when Tebow did his stuff, he didn't really divide anybody. It was the media that divided people because the media was covering him. So people were like, well, how come he's getting so much coverage on, a game that he played really bad? It got to the point where
it was too much.
It wasn't about his skill anymore. It was about what he believed in. Okay? So now this is where I'm going to bring in Colin Kaepernick. From a perception standpoint. So now let's fast forward to Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick takes a knee. He does it for social injustice and racial injustice, social inequality. President Trump comes out, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not going to get political here, but he calls him an SOB, and that's fact. Trump went on Twitter and called him an SOB. So when that happened, Kaepernick, who's an NFL player, well, his teammates saw that. His peers saw that. And the NFL, man, it's like a fraternity. It's a brotherhood, where if you attack one of us, you're going to attack all of us. And I don't care if you're white, black, Hispanic, doesn't matter. There's a brotherhood. There's a camaraderie there. So when Trump said that and called him an SOB, well, guess what? That ticked a lot of players off. And then they started to retaliate. People want to say, like, NFL players started kneeling because, they followed Kaepernick. Well, you really start to see the outrage when Trump said something. Okay? That's the president of the free world. And once again, I'm not here to say Trump's a bad guy, he's a good guy. I don't care what you guys think about him. It's not my job to comment on that. My job is to tell you that, hey, when Trump said something bad about Kaepernick, you start to see the backlash. And then so when more players started to follow Kaepernick's suit, well, then the media started to cover it more. And then the fan bases started to, either have the side of where they're supporting the players or where they're against the players. So from that perspective, it wasn't so much about, I don't think it was really obviously the media is to blame in all of this, but where it stemmed from the Kaepernick issue was the man who had the most power, the leader of the free world, called one of the players out, and the players retaliated because of it.
We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we stay on the Kaepernick thing. Should he be in the NFL? And why both him and Tebow, even if they wanted to, wouldn't play in the AAF. I'll have that story and my thoughts on that on ESPN 690 when we come back.
Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jax and ESPN 690. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is the home of the North American Utility Vehicle of the Year, the 2019 Hyundai Kona. This new crossover utility vehicle is a perfect fit for a family who doesn't need as much room as the Hyundai Santa Fe, but more room than the Hyundai Elantra. Their customer service is top-notch at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, and you never have to worry about a high-pressure, haggling sales approach to you buying a car. My friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville offer the no-risk, no-pressure approach. If you don't absolutely love your new Hyundai, you can bring it back within the first 7 days for your money back. They also offer a lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States. Schedule a test drive today at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com or just swing by the showroom on Atlantic Boulevard. I'm confident your experience at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville will be just as good as mine has been. Tell them Brent Martineau sent you and drop me a line on social media. Let me know how your experience was at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville.
Before the surgery, there's a lot of pain. Every time I would swim in a swim meet or any type of race or anything, I was like hunched over in pain.
Stetson Lane talks about her experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
And then after the surgery, I'm back to doing everything I used to do, and so I feel great now. I would definitely go back to Southeast Orthopedic. They really made me feel like I was welcomed and at home.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
Blake Bortles needs a change of scenery. people need a change of scenery from Blake Bortles. That's not the case in Denver. You can like Case Keenum or not, but it wasn't like, hey, this guy's got to get out of town.
Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 690.
This is Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Hey, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Brent Martineau along with Austin Lane, sharing it on Facebook on the ESPN 690 page, also on Twitter right now. Your comments are certainly welcome, and we'd love to have your thoughts. You can also give us a call, 362-9901. All right, I want to stay on this for one more second. I think it's a fascinating conversation. I think it can go in a lot of different directions. We'll get off it in just a little bit. We have Ballin' and Fallin', Stay in Your Lane. Also talk a little Gators with Will Salmon of The Athletic coming up in just a bit. But I want to share some of the thoughts.
Yeah.
Because, again, it does invoke emotion. And I think some passionate thoughts. These two, that's what's amazing. See, when I say the 30 for 30, and I think there's a commonality here between the stories of Kaepernick and Tebow, emotion. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it invokes emotion, and you have a strong stance on it. And I think it's hard for some people, and I say this with all sincerity, I do believe, I don't look at these situations from a political view at all. I think some people at times did look at Tebow from a religious point of view, and I never looked at Tebow that way. But I understand that people do. I mean, that's just the world we live in. So it's hard to get whatever your view is away from sometimes your political affiliation, and again, Kaepernick tapped into the patriotic part of things, which is something everybody has. We hope, at least, and sometimes from a Tebow perspective, the religious part. So again, that's why it invokes a lot of emotion. Wrong, right, whatever you believe. That's what we're here for. I mean, that's up to you to decide, not for us.
What are the comments saying?
But
where was the
Jack Stan says NFL owners didn't collude to not hire Tebow, full stop. So I think he's trying to stop my comparison. And, well, number one, I guess you could say the NFL was guilty today because they came with a settlement.
I'll say that.
That's not – a lot of people think that.
Yeah.
It's not a 100% thing. We certainly don't know. I don't know if we ever will know. We'll see if something leaks out about it. But – my point in that was, maybe not collusion to not have Tebow, but the idea of him as an average marginal player in eyes of GMs and scouts and maybe coaches prevented the idea of let's bring him in and give him a try to a lot of organizations.
Yeah, I mean, I think
the Patriots could do it because they have Tom Brady.
Yeah, but I think teams saw Tim Tebow as a distraction, and that's not a right thing.
Exactly. That's simply said.
He was a distraction. But is that his fault or is that the media's fault? Let's be honest.
That's what I'm just saying. Yeah. That's why there's a common thread there.
No,
because
for sure.
Colin Kaepernick is certainly a distraction as well.
Exactly.
If you bring him in.
Yep.
Now, he's not a distraction if he goes and throws 40 touchdowns and wins you games.
Yeah.
But the fact that you don't know if he'll do that makes people feel like, ugh, I don't know if I want to touch this
risk
if I don't know that he's going to be good. Cindy Rod says, where was the brotherhood when Tebow was being crucified by the media? Now, listen,
can I answer that? Or no, okay, no, you go ahead first.
Listen, I mean, I don't know where you come off on this, but I don't think Tebow ever was crucified by the media.
Yeah.
I think – now, listen, there are analysts that crushed him as a quarterback, right? I mean, that were really hard on Tebow, probably harder on Tebow than a lot of others. But I would say the same about Blake Bortles at times, even in Jacksonville. I think they are unfairly critical at times of Blake Bortles. So that comes with the territory. I don't think crucifying Tim Tebow was part of it. I think he was more clickbait for so many different media outlets during that time that they ran so much that people, like you said, were a little bit got nauseous at another Tebow headline. And it wasn't Tebow's fault. It was more, we live in a world where clicks are important. Yeah. And I still say it to this, and if you put Tebow in a tease for TV or radio or whatever, or put him in a headline, you go look at the results. It says a lot.
And here's the thing. Well, and first of all, saying that he was crucified is a pretty aggressive terminology. Pretty aggressive terminology there. And wondering where his brotherhood was. Well, look at when he was getting criticized, and you kind of touched on it, Brent. It wasn't for the fact that he was kneeling, for they call it Tebowing him, and he was giving thanks to God. I I never saw one sportscaster be like, he's got to keep Jesus out of football. He's got to stop with this whole Jesus thing. No one ever said that.
Well, I don't know about nobody.
Okay. I mean, okay. But from
I think
from
it
what
did
I garnered,
tap into the religious side of people at times.
Okay,
so
but
where people thought it was too much.
Okay. I mean, that's okay. So be it. But my point is the fact that the analysts that we were watching on ESPN and whatnot, they weren't criticizing, well, he's too much about Jesus and not enough about football. It was never. They're always criticizing about his skills on the field.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why his teammates didn't come forward. Because what, do you want Jalen Ramsey to come forward and defend Blake Bortles every time Blake Bortles has a 4-interception game? That's not how it works. The Brotherhood came to defend Kaepernick because it wasn't about football. It was about what he was doing, taking a knee, and people attacking him. So, yeah.
And by the way, that wasn't a complete brotherhood. There were people
No,
inside locker rooms that didn't agree with him.
Of course. I mean, remember,
and still don't.
And you remember it with the Steelers, I mean, they tried to agree upon the whole team staying in the locker room for the national anthem, and one guy decided to come out, which, hey, that's cool too.
But what's interesting is I think the Tebow part of this, it's to me, Tebow's so fascinating like 20 years down the road when you really have some hindsight on it, and we're getting closer and closer to that because that part has died off. But I think people were so, to your point a little bit, I think people were annoyed. There was a segment of the population that were annoyed, including football people, that said, this guy is not even he might not be even an above-average player, never mind an elite player, yet he's getting all this attention, right? Brady doesn't even get this attention, and Brady's Brady.
Exactly.
And so I think people were bothered by that at times. Sidney does say nobody had, I really should read this before I say it, nobody had issues with Ray Lewis' grand statements of faith, praying, and thanking Jesus. He was crucified by many people, saying his faith had no place on the football field. Again,
it's because Ray Lewis is one of the greatest linebackers of all time.
Well, but I do think there was an element that Tebow, because he was in the spotlight all the time, people did turn to the religious side of things at times. And I think there are so many athletes that don't get criticized for sharing their faith. There was a great dynamic at the time where Russell Wilson was performing really well, and he would bring religion into an interview or into social media, and nobody would say anything. But when Tebow, because, again, it was so polarizing on Tebow that people had strong thoughts, and they would use that card.
Yeah.
So I do think there was an element of it. Anyway, he turned down the AAF. Ray says he doesn't want to play. Okay, this is one I want to get into before we talk a little Gator football with Will Salmon out of Gainesville and the Athletic. These guys cannot play in the AAF if they feel strongly about their cause. And what's their cause? Well, for Tim Tebow, his cause is, missionary work. It is promoting his religion. There's a lot into Tebow, I think, but let's just nuts and bolts say that. He has a platform. He has a cause. And he has a message. And the NFL is his platform, or was. Now there's a chance for Major League Baseball to be too, but NFL platform was so big that even when Tebow had a chance to maybe change positions and go to a tight end or a halfback or how else they would like to use him and he could stay in the NFL, I don't think he wanted to do that. When he had a chance to go to the CFL and play quarterback, I don't think he wanted to do that. You know why? Because it was bigger than him just playing football. One, he wanted to play the quarterback position because he thought he could, and he was passionate about that. But two, I believe the platform of the NFL and the quarterback spot helps you do that. And for Kaepernick, it's the same way. He needs, if he's going to do what he does for his cause, social injustice, the AAF is not the platform he wants to be on. The NFL is the card-carrying platform to be on to promote it to all the population. The AAF, if he kneels in an AAF game, how much attention is it getting in week 3 of that?
And honestly,
so my point is the platform's not big enough for them to play in the AAF. Never mind the money.
Don't take this the wrong way what I'm about to say here, but I feel like if Kaepernick was to go to the AAF and kneel, he loses. Why? Because
that's my point.
Yeah, because and I don't want those words to get misconstrued. You know, but it's basically saying, like, listen, you kind of just milked it in. You kind of gave up because the NFL didn't come calling anymore. And listen, we can get into the facts that we think Colin Kaepernick should be in the NFL. I personally do, without a doubt. I think there's a lot of players out, on teams right now as backups or as third stringers that he could definitely beat out. And the fact that Kareem Hunt gets a second chance right off the bat, and I don't want to get into the whole thing, but obviously I feel like if you beat up a woman, you shouldn't get a second chance.
Yeah, you've been crystal clear about
that.
But let me ask you this. Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah, go stop me for a second.
If you were a GM and you said, hey, I think Kaepernick's good enough to be a backup, if you were a GM, would it be worth your risk of the distraction, the publicity, everything else?
I mean, it's easy for me to sit here because I'm not a GM, so I don't know exactly what they operate on a daily basis. But, yes, I would, because you know why, Brent? Because I'm a father, okay? I have a 3-year-old. He's going to turn 4 pretty soon. And he's into football. He's super into football right now. I don't know if he's going to be into football when he's in high school. I hope so, but if he's not, all good, no worries. But one day he's going to ask me, like, hey, Dad, did you know Colin Kaepernick? I'm going to be like, yeah, we had the same agent and everything, and, I got to watch him play and whatnot. He's like, what happened with that? And I'm going to be, well, son, he believed in something so dearly that he decided to take a knee, and in doing so, it kind of split up the nation a little bit, and he took a lot of crap for it, but at the same time, he kind of stuck strong to his values, and he stood up for what he believed in. And then I'm going to have to tell him how there's this guy named Kareem Hunt who beat up a woman. I'll be like, son, you know how I always preach you can't beat up anybody, especially women. You always keep your hands off women. And he goes, yeah, Dad, I understand that. Great, I'm glad you understand that. But there's this guy named Kareem Hunt who got a second chance, and he's like, well, why do you get a second chance, Dad? Because he's good at football. Because he has the skill set to surpass what he did to a woman when he kicked her. And that's going to be a hard conversation because I don't believe in that. So from a moral standpoint, if I'm a GM, yeah, I'm bringing in Kaepernick. Because look, we're signing these guys that have these checkered past, and with Kareem Hunt, we don't even know how many games he's going to be sitting yet. Like, the NFL is just kicking their tires. Are we going to hand out a suspension pretty soon and tell us how many games he's going to sit? Because it's ridiculous, the fact that he gets a second chance so fast and no one's talking about it.
How much do you think? And by the way, you said you have the same agent, but you really don't know Kaepernick, right? I could have the same agent as Kaepernick, and I don't have an agent, by the way. I need one. To that degree, I feel like the thought is, right, this collusion thought is the NFL owners are holding Kaepernick hostage, right, because he might kneel and because of what he stands for and what he did to kind of separate the game and the country at that time.
It's going to be bad for sales and TV ratings, yes.
Is there a sense that Kaepernick is also holding the owners in the sport of football hostage? Because he says, yes, I would like to sign, but I am going to kneel. Does somebody have to give in here?
Well, do you think he's going to give in for the something that he's believed in for the past couple of years? All of a sudden he's just going to be like...
But he can still believe it, but does kneeling have to be a part of it for him to still believe, donate to causes, be a face of social injustice?
Him kneeling is going to get the most people talking about it again. And like I said, Brent, it's bigger than football. So if he continues to kneel, we'll continue to talk about it.
So he's never playing football again?
I have no idea. I probably would say he's probably not playing football ever again.
Yeah. Because the cause is bigger.
The cause is bigger. Yep.
And that's a decision he's going to have to make.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's something he's got to live with. And at the end of the day, he's his own man. So I think it's the right decision. But
by the way,
everyone's got a different opinion.
I said it earlier. I think he's bigger 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road if he never plays football again. Yeah. Right or wrong, whether you agree or disagree, he is bigger. Colin Kaepernick, the face, the hair, the people you see on the big poster on a side of a building. Yeah. It's bigger down the road if he never plays again. We'll talk some Gator football right after this on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the Anthony Davis saga continues over in the NBA despite there being no chance he gets traded for another few months. Today, the New Orleans Pelicans announcing they're parting ways with GM Dell Demps. Sounds like not being able to rein in their disgruntled superstar was the main factor.
New Orleans owner Gail Benson was especially livid last night, I'm told, with Anthony Davis leaving the arena before the game was over. He had an injured shoulder. And left the building during the win over Oklahoma City.
Elsewhere in the NBA, Russell Westbrook extends his record for consecutive games with a triple-double, and boy, did he go in last night. Westbrook putting up 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against New Orleans. There is nobody playing better basketball right now than Russell Westbrook. Apologies to the beard and the Greek freak, but Russell Westbrook is locked in. And tonight, the NBA's Rising Stars Challenge takes center stage at All-Star Weekend. Tip-off at 9 right here on ESPN 690.
Want to put more presidents back in your pocket? Then get to the President's Day sale going on now at Arlington Toyota. Arlington Toyota has over 1,000 new and used on the lot every day, and every single one of them is discounted with big-time President's Day savings. During the President's Day sale at Arlington, you can buy a 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. And right now, during the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, you can buy a 2019 Toyota Highlander from just $28,988. That's a pre-owned 2019 Highlander from just $28,988. You got to check out Arlington Toyota's free iPrecheck service, powered by TransUnion. The easy way to check your credit without affecting your credit score. No Social Security number required. It's the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota. Shop today in person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. Arlington Toyota is giving away up to $600 in prizes to the first person to track the Toyota. Follow Arlington Toyota on Facebook and Twitter for details and contest clues.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you've received a letter from the IRS and can't pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. The number again, 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
This weekend is All-Star Weekend.
Big man, right down the middle, the Red Sea parts, and he jams it home.
All-Star Weekend on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Presented by Boost Mobile.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio. Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to Daytona International Speedway. Brent Martineau along with Austin Knight. And, hey, thanks for putting up with our conversation. I think it's an important conversation we just had with Kaepernick and Tebow and all the rest, and appreciate you chiming in. I'll have some of your thoughts coming up a little bit later, but we will get off that because one person on social media did say you're beating a dead horse. So okay. I don't think we were. I think we were seeing it from a couple different angles, but if that's how you feel, that's okay. We're going to talk some Gator football. Anyway, right now with Will Salmon from The Athletic. Good to have Will with us. Hey, man, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good. We are at Daytona International Speedway, so if you hear some racing behind us, that's why, okay?
I got it. Thanks for the heads up.
Hey, Todd Grantham comes back as a defensive coordinator. Is that a surprise at all that he didn't go to the NFL? And what does it mean for the Florida Gators? And, by the way, I should introduce you fully and say you write for The Athletic covering the Florida Gators in Gainesville. What does it mean for the Gators that Grantham's staying?
Well, on the surface, it's a pretty good thing, of course, right? Because this marks, or it would mark, the second season, the second full year for these players in his system. So that's always a good thing. And by all accounts, as a recruiter, he's pretty solid. Like a lot of defensive coordinators, he's not always on, say, 247 Sports as a guy's primary recruiter, but he is really, really good at closing the deal on kids, particularly the defensive end, edge rushers type that have succeeded historically under Todd Grantham. Obviously, Ja'Kai Polite being the latest example from last season. So that's all good things, of course. So it wasn't really necessarily a surprise at all that he had the interest, meaning that he had interest and the NFL had interest in him. I wasn't surprised by either, nor was I really shocked by the idea of him coming back, just because I know he feels like he has a pretty good thing at Florida. He enjoys working with Dan Mullen, enjoys working for Scott Strickland. He likes his team. He has a pretty good staff, a veteran staff with a couple of guys mixed in like Christian Robinson, who is really like his protege, so to speak. So he's in a really good spot this year, and he's also getting paid pretty well. So yeah. I don't see him if he's going to move after, say, this year or the year after that. It will be for, in my opinion at least, a head coaching job in college football or a defensive coordinator job in the NFL that is more attractive than the Bengals gig.
I know this is more hypothetical now because he is staying in Gainesville, but how much would it have hurt Dan Mullen and the staff and maybe that defense at this hour in the calendar to lose their defensive coordinator? They've already lost a couple of coaches, and that happens, but, I mean, when you lose your OC or DC, that's a bigger deal.
Yeah, that would have been a big deal. No question about it. Mullen really recovered well when Charlton Warren bolted for Georgia, and he also recovered well when Sal Sunseri went to Alabama by adding Torian Gray, of course. Was previously with Florida a couple years back and went to the NFL with the Redskins, and David Turner at defensive line, who previously worked under Mullen at Mississippi State. So he did well there. So by all accounts, you would think that he would have had a plan in place, may have went with another veteran mind, but I wouldn't have doubted his ability to kind of find another up-and-comer like he did at Mississippi State previously when he previously hired Jeff Collins once and also Manny Diaz twice. So he has a pretty good track record when it comes to hiring defensive coordinators.
Will Salmon with us from The Athletic, covers the Florida Gators football team in Gainesville. Now, Will, you covered Dan Mullen at Mississippi State for a while too, right?
I did, yeah. I was at the Clarion Ledger in Mississippi previously.
I thought about this the other day. When when Dan Mullen came in, I just made you a relative, by the way. When Dan Mullen came in here, we said this because Taggart came in, of course, in Tallahassee at the same time. We said, okay, Dan Mullen is a really good football coach. He's going to develop QBs. He's going to call a good game. But he will have some trouble potentially recruiting. That's not his deal. Willie Taggart, on the other hand, we don't know about him as a coach as much, but he's going to recruit the heck out of Florida State and Tallahassee. What's interesting to me, obviously Mullen is coming off a better year than anybody anticipated. Top 10 finish in the polls. Then he turns it around and has some big momentum right into signing day and delivers. But I was looking at the NFL draft and all these mock drafts, and I see all these Mississippi State guys as potential picks. It's not like the guy didn't recruit well even to Mississippi State, which is a lot harder to do than it is to Florida.
Yeah, no question about it. I always thought it was a little bit funny when people were saying, oh, last year was Mississippi State's best roster. And by some people's opinions, probably is up there. Maybe it was the best. I don't know. But then those same people would say, like, oh, man, Mullen and Grantham and Hevesy and Gonzalez, they were all bad recruiters. Well, I mean, like, those were the guys who got you that roster. So, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But the flip side of that argument is, well, those guys were sort of like mid-tier 3 stars, low-end 4 stars, and so you weren't really battling with the Georgias or the Alabamas of the world for a lot of those kids, which you have to do now. So it's just a different set of circumstances, and you're right. He did sort of have that sort of thing in his background where people kind of questioned his recruiting, but I don't think people are doing that right now, of course, after reeling in a top 10 class to finish things up last week. And you're right. A lot of it had to come down to the development of players such as Felipe Franks and how the offense looked, and that sort of helped things, and that sort of built momentum toward recruiting because these prospects, he was not recruiting these 4 or 5-star kids that he started to recruit once he got at Florida. They didn't know who he was at Mississippi State, really. And so he had to break in those relationships, and most importantly, he had to show something on the field that they wanted to play for and play on. So that had to happen first, which it did.
You have an interesting view covering Dan Mullen at Mississippi State and now coming over to Gainesville and covering him as the Florida Gators head coach. And obviously the story around here and mostly in Gainesville is, well, he was in Gainesville a decade ago. How has he changed? And we've had some people's opinions on that. But what are your thoughts on Mullen and his evolution as the guy that was under Urban Meyer, then had more success than anybody probably would have dreamed about at Mississippi State, and now instant success back at Florida? What's the evolution of Dan Mullen as a coach, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of it traces back to that first year in 2009 at Mississippi State. He brought a lot of energy, and he did the same thing this year, of course, right? I mean, he brought a lot of energy to the swamp, brought a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of optimism toward Florida, just the same way he did in 2009 when he got hired at Mississippi State. The difference was, he wasn't sort of antagonizing the rivals like he did at Mississippi State. He wasn't. He kind of knows how should I put this? I think he's a lot more mature in what buttons he chooses to push, and he's a lot more savvy with what are those buttons and how can I push them, and how can I build momentum sort of in a way that's going to be significant, but also it has some legs under it so that this isn't just, a flash in the pan sort of thing. He's really good at that. He's really good at building a program, and he's really good at identifying players to go along with what he wants. And so I see a lot of similarities, but the biggest difference to me is just a more mature guy from his previous, his first couple of years at Mississippi State. And you saw that toward the end of his tenure in Starkville because, his family started to grow. I mean, he's said it before, too. I mean, he left Gainesville. His wife was pregnant, and he left with his dog, and now they're back with 2 kids and the dog. And so, his family grew, and I think, of course, just a lot of people can relate to the idea, like, once your family gets a little bit bigger, once other things start to become important in your life, there's some depth to your character, and you start to understand and become better at probably what you do, too, because you're able to kind of take a step back, if you will, and that's what we've seen. And, at Mississippi State, he was criticized for being a micromanager early in his years. You don't have a guy like Ty Grantham on your staff, but that's your reputation. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I guess in a lot of respects, it's not like anybody else. Kind of growing up in any business, really, you mature. You get a little, you get a little wiser as you go along. 10 years later, Will Salmon from the Athletic with us. By the way, I love the Athletic website. You guys are doing a great job. And recent stories from Will talking about how the star-studded recruiting class can bring the Gators back to national prominence, and maybe they're already there. And also more on how Todd Grantham staying helps the Gators and how it impacts them this offseason. Spring ball's coming up soon enough. What are you looking for the most? Are you just like the rest of us and trying to see how Felipe Franks will separate himself, or if Emory Jones and Jalen Jones can catch up to him at all?
Yeah, definitely. That's always going to be the big topic, right? I mean, how can Felipe Franks take another step forward? That's going to be what people are going to be talking about, of course, mainstream-wise, and even like your most hardcore fans. That's still the biggest topic. That's still the most important thing, because if he does take another step, then you're looking at a pretty solid QB. Because he had his flaws. Don't get me wrong, and I think everybody kind of knows what he needs to improve on, i.e., the accuracy, but. If he takes another step forward there, then you're talking about a guy who's going to be relied on to have a nice little season for the Gators. But beyond that, you kind of have to pay attention to the offensive line, because they're going to plug in 4 new guys to start, and that's never really a great thing. So that's going to be the biggest thing in my mind offensively, and then defensively, just some little parts. Where I'm pretty excited about a guy, Amari Burney, on their defense. He's a guy they could plug in anywhere. So is he going to play linebacker? Is he going to play safety? Where do they get the best usage of him? And other than that, you have a couple of big-time prospects like Chris Steele and Mahmoud Diabate from Auburn. So I'd be curious to kind of see how they kind of fit into the plans for spring.
Hey there, Will. Austin Lane here. Hey, so speaking of, prospects and whatnot, I got to ask you, how excited is Florida to finally land Morven Joseph? Obviously he's a 2020 guy, but a pretty promising edge rusher, and by the looks of it, Florida's really added a lot of edge rushers for their team. So is there a sense of excitement coming from the camp right now in Florida?
Yeah, I would say so. If you look at his profile, I don't know exactly like where he's rating as far as like his composite goes, like on 247 Sports, but I remember looking at it a couple of days ago. Fresh off of seeing him at a camp, and I was like, man, this guy has some room to grow here. I think you kind of bank on him to probably get a recruiting boost in the next couple of weeks or whatever they do more evaluations and update things, because he's pretty explosive. I think he's a guy that he's getting offers for a reason. I mean, he's picked up a Miami offer. Obviously, he's committed to Florida. He's a guy that's worth watching. As like I said, the rankings get updated. People see more film on him. People go to more camps and observe him, because he fits that mold of what Florida's looking at that position. Quick guy, fast twitch guy off the edge. And they have succeeded, which is kind of funny, because a lot of people are sort of wondering, is the Grantham situation going to maybe put a pause on recruiting, because a lot of people are going to use the idea that he may be leaving after this year at a disadvantage, and I don't buy into that at all. And I think this is kind of proof positive that that's not exactly something to be alarmed about right now.
Will Salmon, as we wrap up with Will from The Athletic, talking about the Florida Gators. I'll end with this. Austin kind of took us down this road to 2020. But there's a lot of talk about that 2020 class, which is funny in college football, right? I mean, heck, we're trying to get to the spring of 2019, just finish this recruiting cycle, and everybody's already on it. And in Jacksonville, people are talking about Carson Beck decommitting from Alabama, potentially going to Gainesville. Grew up a Florida Gator fan. But is there a significant buzz about what's to come, not only what the Gators just did?
Definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head there with Carson Beck. He's a guy who they're really targeting at that position, and I got the opportunity to watch him in Orlando at the Under Armour camp, and he checked all the boxes for me. He has a pretty big arm, very on target, not a whole lot of throws that I remember being off target or made me say to myself, like, wow, this kid is not exactly what he's cracked up to be. He was. He really impressed me. He has a lot of poise there. He has that quiet confidence about him. There's a lot of things to like. You can just go down the checklist. He checks them all off. And beyond that, obviously they're targeting the 5-star out of Lakeland, Marcus Bowman, the running back, hoping that he becomes, the latest guy from Lakeland to join that. And based on their commitment today, another guy from Polk County, they're really succeeding in that area. And obviously they'd love to add Jacksonville or get back into Jacksonville in a big way this cycle.
Yeah, Mullen's doing a nice job in the state of Florida, no doubt about that, with a couple of the flips that he had on signing day, pulling guys away from the out-of-state programs. Hey, Will Salmon, great catching up with you, man. Hope we can do it a lot more over the next couple of months.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, Will Salmon covers the Florida Gators for The Athletic. Go check him out. Good read and good website, too. Really like what The Athletic has done over these last few months. When we come back, we'll talk a little NASCAR, but we also have Ballin' and Fallin' on ESPN 690.
You know you love the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
We've got limited bathrooms here in the building, and sometimes on occasion, if they have a room empty, I'm allowed to go in between shows and use a bathroom to freshen up. I hear people coming in, and I'm just yelling, "Wait a minute!" But my plan gets exposed when I hear, "Hey, Dan Le Batard!"
The Dan Le Batard Show, now 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNradio.com.
Hi, it's Nathan from Gordon Chevy in Orange Park, where our no bull pricing and express sales process will have you out the door in a new Chevy fast. No bull means fast, fair, and transparent. It's what you can always expect at Gordon Chevy. And right now, take up to $10,000 off the 19 new body style Silverado crew cabs and up to $12,000 off the 19 previous body Silverados. Only at the money saving end of Blanding and online at GordonChevy.com. Chevy, find new roads.
So much to do in so little time? Then put a John Deere from AgPro to the test and see how you can turn your property into paradise. A 1023E is a mighty little tractor that can do so much when you add an attachment, and it starts at just $85.99. So run with us and be equipped for anything. Shop online at agproco.com. Offer ends 4/30/19. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Topgolf is everyone's game. It's all about fun no matter how well you play. Come take a swing at Jacksonville's premier entertainment venue and enjoy special promotions like half-price gameplay all day on Tuesdays, happy hour Wednesday through Sunday from 3 to 7, and $15 per person unlimited play from 9 a.m. to noon on weekdays. It's easy to get to on Brightman Boulevard between the Town Center and UNF at the intersection of JTB and 9A. It's a great time for all at Topgolf.
March is right around the corner, and that means the Players' Championship will be here before you know it. We have your chance to win tickets to the newest venue at the Players, the Captain's Club, which includes beer, wine, and soda. To enter, go to our contest page at ESPN690.com.
Hey, it's Mike Golick from Golick & Wingo. You're listening to Action Sports Jacks with our friend Brent Martineau on ESPN 690.
Should I try the cross flex?
I mean, hey, people are starting to murmur a little bit about you here, Brent. People are starting to murmur.
Austin shows me a text from your wife.
Yep.
What did it say?
Is Brent, trying really hard to flex right now next to you? I'm like, I don't know. I've been noticing, but I guess the people at home can decide.
That is fantastic. The answer to that is no, because I'm not as cognizant as I should be about it, but maybe I should a little bit more. In fact, I definitely should a little bit more. Brett Martineau along with Austin Lane. We'll be joined by Stuart Weber in just a moment, talk a little NASCAR. We have Ballin' and Fallin' coming up right now. I do want to say, just to wrap up our conversation about the Kaepernick stuff, and it got a lot of feedback, good and bad, which does not surprise me.
That's the way it usually rolls.
When I asked the question, will Kaepernick ever play, John Hildebrand said, will Tebow ever play, is a better conversation. I don't think he's playing football ever again. What else we got? Cindy, who you kind of went back and forth with a little bit, said, thank you for including me in the discussion. So very nice that we
Cindy,
can have
you're very welcome.
A peaceful discussion. Dan says you named Denver, New England, Philly, New York Jets as place that gave Tebow a chance, whereas Cap played beside San Francisco. He's a big believer in the collusion. Miggy says we were beating a dead horse. Joshua, will he ever play again? Not if he keeps overvaluing his abilities and disrespecting large percent of the fan base. That's the polarizing Kaepernick. What else we have? I don't even know how to pronounce this, so I would just say at IamBWF. No need to apologize. It's a discussion that makes us more informed nation. Sports is not simply entertainment. And Scott says, I was surprised Cap didn't go to the AAF. Hasn't played in a long time. Had a chance to put some tape together. And, I do think it feeds to that. I think it comes to a point where you almost have this responsibility to a cause, and then at other times, like, hey, man, I want to play. I want to play football.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting balance. And someday in an interview or down the road, he'll discuss that, and we'll find out
Probably
where that is. So
ESPN 30 for 30, I'm sure we'll see it.
It's coming up down the road, and I think there are
is.
branches of it. That was part of our discussion, kind of why it took so long to discuss. Moving on. Ballin' and Fallin'. What you got?
Ballin'. I mean, Murray State Nation, stand up. Ja Morant, man. 32 points.
Did you see the block?
I did. I watched the whole game. Excuse me, sir. I was on ESPN2 last night. Show a little respect for the OVC and Murray State Racers. Ja Morant, 32 points and 7 assists in enemy territory against our big rivals, Austin P. Flush the P. In your face, Austin P.
That's what he used to say.
That's
awesome.
That's
great.
That's the big chant. But hey, listen.
I remember Austin P. I'm going to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I always do.
You're good.
But Providence back in the day, like when I was growing up as a kid, they went to the Final Four in '87. Mm-hmm. So Providence had a good program. We were really into it.
Friars, right?
Yeah, Providence Friars.
Yeah.
But I remember them playing Austin P in the NCAA tournament. Isn't it funny how you figure out where these schools are at?
Yeah.
Austin P was in the tournament. This is probably late '80s, maybe early '90s.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they won or lost, but I just remember the name.
I'm sure Austin P lost, and it's funny too because like. When we played them in football, it was AP on the field, so like you got confused like the AP Associated Press because it's like the exact same like font that they use for their team. So a little confusing, but hey, anyways, getting back to Ja Morant, talk about him all day. Murray State, stand up. Ja Morant, like I said, he had over 30 points, 7 assists. Listen, this guy's talking to you. Hopefully, going to be a top 5 pick. Right now, he's on pace to set the record and do something that no other NCAA basketball player has ever done in NCAA history. Average 20 points and 10 assists per game. He's on that streak right now. Hopefully he keeps it going and makes a little history for himself. So Ja Morant, you're obviously balling, man. Guy can do everything.
All right, I'm going to go my ballin' for a little golf. J.B. Holmes leads the Genesis Open, and there was a lot of rain over there yesterday, and this is really just in a roundabout way for me to get Tiger Woods into the show. All right?
I'm not mad about that.
I don't really, with all due respect, J.B. Holmes, good player. Glad you're in the lead. Jordan Spieth, actually, nice round, 7 under. We'll see what he does in 2019. But Tiger 1 under par round, got a little sluggish start, then made like 3 birdies in a row, I think it was. Ends up 1 under, so just ho-hum. This is a place he hasn't won at. 11 starts and hasn't been able to win at Riviera, even though he's played in it a bunch and obviously grew up right around there. So we'll keep our eye on Tiger Woods.
No offense to Tiger Woods, but more importantly, where's the Swagger Hound at right now?
Is Ricky even playing this week?
Probably not.
I'll look that up while you do a little falling. How about that?
I like your style, Brent. All right, so fallen. We are going with Jalen Ferguson of Louisiana Tech. Hey, listen, this guy set the sack record as an edge rusher for Louisiana Tech. Just got disinvited from the combine after a report came out that he had they call it simple battery. Not really sure what simple battery means, but he had a simple
That's
battery.
If you punch me in the face, probably.
All right, well, let's not put that to the test today, Brent. Don't piss me off. He had a simple battery charge in a McDonald's his freshman year, so unfortunately can't go to the combine now. Obviously, it's devastating for him. I mean, the combine's a great place to showcase your skills, especially being the all-time sack leader. It would have been a perfect spot to showcase his skills, get across his personality in team meetings and whatnot. But at the same time, I'm not mad at the NFL for starting to implement this rule where if you have like a police record or whatever like that, you can't go to the combine. College athletes got to be held responsible.
I saw a tweet the other day, and I thought this was a really good tweet. They're not banning this guy from the NFL.
No, it's just
they're banning him from the combine, which is a big job interview and could hurt his chances. But who does it hurt more? The player or the NFL, who has a chance to interview, find out more about this young man? How much has he grown? How much did he learn from that? And also, I forget about the judging of I think we'll talk about the combine when we get there. I think the combine's the most overrated thing in the world. Yeah. But I do think the interviews are important. So you get 32 teams right there with all their ammunition. You get the doctors, you get all this, and you can say, all right, how far has this guy come? Mm-hmm. So I thought it was a very fair question of who is it hurting more. I mean, this guy's going to have a pro day. He's going to get in front of people. Does it really hurt him that he can't go to the combine?
Honestly, it almost, and I don't want to say it helps him, but if you look at the signs, it does help him in a way, because usually when guys run their pro days, they run faster, they're stronger for whatever reason, because you have to understand at the combine, you're put through so much duress that's not even physical. I mean, you're meeting till midnight. You have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. Like, your body's just exhausted. So for the fact that his only tape he's going to put out from doing a 40-yard dash, from doing the vertical, from doing a bench press is at the pro day, it almost helps him a lot. And let's not forget, I mean, teams can interview him now, because at the pro day, I mean, he's going to be doing the drills and he's out. Yeah. So from an interviewing standpoint, I'm not sure if that really hurts him or helps him. But, so it's not the worst thing for him, actually.
All right, fall in for me real quick is the Pelicans are a mess. Kuz, I bring you in. You could be the expert here. But, Anthony Davis, he's playing, he gets hurt, he walks out, he doesn't even stay at the arena for the entire game. GM gets fired today. What the heck is going on? I mean, they look as dysfunctional as you can be right now.
What I was going to say, I think Dell Demps has been there, if I'm not mistaken, 8 or so years. And, the main job was put shooting around, Davis, make him happy. And, well, obviously him requesting a trade means he's not happy. So, the number one thing is make your star want to stay. And he, essentially failed at doing that.
Drive and Dish podcast. You got a new one coming out tomorrow, right?
Oh, yeah. Recording tomorrow morning. It'll be up.
All right. Check it out. You can check out our podcast, too, Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. We also have a podcast on the TV side, Action Sports Jacks Pile-On Podcast. If you like the podcast, that's good. Stuart Weber?
People love the podcasts.
And you like NASCAR?
I do like NASCAR. We'll talk more about it next. A quick ballin' and fallin', though. Chase Elliott, ballin'. The charter system, fallen. I'll explain that next.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. Plus, Matt Kuchar with a 180 when it comes to paying the caddy. That story, an update from Daytona International Speedway. Brett Martineau, Austin Lane, Stuart Weber, and Justin Kuzart. Kuz on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the Anthony Davis saga continues over in the NBA despite there being no chance he gets traded for another few months. Today, the New Orleans Pelicans announcing they're parting ways with GM Dell Demps. Sounds like not being able to rein in their disgruntled superstar was the main factor.
New Orleans owner Gail Benson was especially livid last night, I'm told, with Anthony Davis leaving the arena before the game was over. He had an injured shoulder. And left the building during the win over Oklahoma City.
Elsewhere in the NBA, Russell Westbrook extends his record for consecutive games with a triple-double, and boy, did he go in last night. Westbrook putting up 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against New Orleans. There is nobody playing better basketball right now than Russell Westbrook. Apologies to the Beard and the Greek Freak, but Russell Westbrook is locked in. And tonight, the NBA's Rising Stars Challenge takes center stage at All-Star Weekend. Tip-off at 9 right here on ESPN 690.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks here on ESPN 690. And although the focus has shifted a little bit from football and heading into basketball season, maybe even baseball season, we have not lost our focus on helping you get the best car buying experience. If you haven't been to see my friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, you've got to see this new state-of-the-art showroom and meet their fantastic people. Beyond that, if you're thinking about buying a new or pre-owned car, you really should go see the team at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. I'm really confident you'll find their approach to be a breath of fresh air. Take it from me. I drive a Hyundai, and my friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville emphasize a no-risk and no-pressure approach. They offer a limited lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States, and if you're not 100% satisfied with your vehicle for any reason, you can bring it back within the first 7 days for your money back. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is located on Atlantic Boulevard. You can schedule a test drive today at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com and tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
Hey everyone, this is Austin Lane from ESPN 690 and Action Sports Jax. I'm inviting you, your colleagues and friends to Pints and Pucks with the Jax Sports Council Young Professionals and the Jacksonville Icemen. Wednesday, February 27th, join the Jax Sports Council Young Professionals for a night of great networking and fun. Pints and Pucks starts at 5 at Intuition Ale Works downtown. Then we'll move to the arena for the puck drop at 7. Pints and Pucks is open to everyone, with a portion of the proceeds going to the Send the Child to the Game program. See you at Pints and Pucks.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the only $5 meal worthy of your appetite? Wendy's Giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger Meal. Our classic Junior Bacon Cheeseburger is now bigger, with double the fresh, never frozen beef and double the Applewood smoked bacon. There's nothing junior about it except the price. Wendy's Giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger Meal comes with nuggets, fries, and a drink for just $5. Get the $5 Giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger Meal at Wendy's. Giant Meal, junior price.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time. So you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. There are no public details, but the NFL has settled the collusion grievances filed by former 49ers teammates Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid. Both players claimed league owners prevented them from working after they began their social protests in 2016. Reid is now playing with the Panthers. The New Orleans Pelicans named Danny Ferry their interim GM today after firing Dell Demps in his 9th season on the job. The team still has to deal with the trade request of Anthony Davis. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski.
I think from top to bottom was pretty steadfast that they weren't going to just give Anthony Davis what he wanted in the short term. They felt they were being held up with a player with a year plus left on his contract.
NBA All-Star Weekend starts tonight, first 7 Eastern on ESPN, the All-Star Celebrity Game. Then at 9 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, we'll have the Rising Stars game. From baseball, the Yankees will sign right-hander Luis Severino to a 4-year, $40 million contract with a team option in the 5th year. He avoids arbitration.
At Pizza Hut, you can carry out any large pizza with any toppings for just $10.99. Even Pizza Hut's pan meat lovers. Use code THANKYOU online or call for carry-out today. Hurry, deal ends soon. Ask for offer. Additional charge or extra charge for extra cheese, stuffed crust, and over 5 toppings. Availability, price, and participation vary.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Hey, one more hour to go in the work week for some of you, potentially. Maybe you're already on your way. You know, I ran into more people today on a Friday that were, like, taking a half a day. I think that's probably because of the holiday weekend. What, a day off on Monday isn't good enough for you people? Work harder.
Got to stretch it out. Apparently.
I mean, you got to get an extra day off on Monday and take a half a day Friday?
Yeah, see, I disagree with you there, Brent.
Well, of course you do.
Go ahead, Kuz. Chime in. What do you got?
If you already have a day, you might as well make it an extra one. Like, use that to your advantage. If you're going to go on vacation, do it on a 3-day weekend, then you only spend, like, 3 PTO days.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, teachers all over the place. My kids had, like, the day off today. So I guess it's part of it.
Well,
I
plus,
understand that actually. I will say, if you have the kids and you get a chance to go away, or if you got a ski trip like that Stewart would normally be on, but he can't because he's got to be here at the Daytona 500.
2 years ago, Daytona moved it back to President's Day weekend, and I was so upset. I missed Whistler.
Okay.
And this year they're at somewhere in California.
Seems
who they are?
The group that I went to for a couple of years in a row.
Cult, or what kind of group
No,
are you
it's a
talking
group
about
of like
here,
12, 15 people who
They all meet there, right?
Yeah, they all meet up at wherever. Most of them live in L.A. They do.
Dude, are these like friends? Or
Yeah,
what
friends
kind
of mine.
Group? Okay,
Yeah.
you said a group. Like I don't know what kind of
group of friends. Sure.
Listen, man, you're about to join like a snowboarding gang.
I am actually, yeah.
Yeah, so you know
To be
that was
continued.
my skiing / snowboarding gang.
And first of all, when it comes to the Ravinos, they're not a snowboarding gang. They're not a skiing gang. They're a club, Brent.
They're a club. A club.
What's the
Shout
first
out
rule of
to the
Ravinos?
The first rule of Ravinos?
Yeah.
It's
You
probably
talk
just
about
have
it
a
on the
good
radio?
time. Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's the first rule about
Dude,
the radio.
hey, if you do some research, they're all about having fun, having a good time. So they don't care what I'm talking about.
I will say my day got better because I have some Peaches gummy candy. You can't have any.
That's fine. I don't want any, man.
Fight camp time.
I don't want. Did you see the sleeves right now? I don't want any. We're good.
I like. I do like Valentine's Day because I got some.
Oh, there you go.
See,
Okay.
I got a gift.
Excellent.
Had a lot of candy at the house yesterday, despite hating Valentine's Day.
I'm not gonna lie. I probably cheated a little bit too and had way too much chocolate. But what are you gonna do, man? It's Valentine's Day. Any excuse to have a couple extra calories, so be it.
So hey, I know there's some people that just don't want me to mention the word Colin Kaepernick again, but it's the story of the day in sports. How about $60 to $80 million?
Says who?
Is reportedly the settlement?
Show me the Carfax first before I
Wow.
believe these numbers.
If that number is right, wow.
But who's reporting this though? It's just
I don't know.
Okay.
It was just reportedly. So, like I told you before, if I can say it, somebody else reported it. It's like
good
Bleacher
point.
Report or something like that.
But the power of social media.
All right, let's talk some NASCAR a little bit.
The other
because
big
that's why we're
story
here
of the
too.
day, yeah.
Daytona International Speedway. We got some racing going on behind us.
Qualifying for the trucks race tonight.
Saturday night, we will be here for the trucks race. You know, trucks race can be fun. We've seen some exciting finishes.
Amazing finishes just about every single year in the trucks race. New sponsor this year for the series, the Gander RV Truck Series.
And they also sponsored the
duels
last
yesterday.
night.
Yeah.
So what you got? You're a racing expert. You teased something.
I teased
that
a little
had no
ballin'
idea
and
what you were
fallin',
talking
and
about.
I said Chase Elliott is ballin'. For those who watched the duels last night, a lot of single file racing. Nobody
you
wanted
don't want to wreck your car.
Nobody wanted to wreck their car, but you could still race a little bit within reason. Chase Elliott was about the only guy who was testing his car out, trying to make some moves on some guys. He was doing some single car moves. He was using the different lanes of the track, and he was really testing his car and trying to see what he could do in
Kyle
race
Busch
traffic.
feels like Jimmy Johnson might have been trying to test his car.
You know,
too.
I mean, it is a bit confounding that, there's been two real wrecks, and Jimmy's nose of the car has been at the start of both.
Yeah. Is he losing it?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think the Paul Menard one was Menard's fault, if you're asking me. I think Menard.
Last week.
Yeah, in the clash. Menard came down into him. This one was definitely Jimmy.
He admitted it after
Yeah,
the race.
yeah. And I don't know if that's a spotter issue or what, but this one falls on Jimmy. So Chase Elliott, Ballin. Fallen is the charter system. And
what is that?
When you say the charter system, there are 36 cars that before you even got here to Daytona were locked into the Daytona 500 because of the charter system, because their team has a spot in the series for the course of the season. It has seriously diminished the value of that duels, the 150 duels, because now that there's really only two spots that they were fighting for in those duels.
Yeah.
Those spots won by Parker Kligerman and Brendan Gaughan, who me and Austin saw when we were walking in. The fun backstory on Brendan Gaughan.
He used to be a track star.
Allen Iverson teammate in college.
That is a good background.
Which I thought he was just kidding too. I had no idea he was telling the
he
truth.
could ball with you probably in those AAU days.
Maybe, man.
Yeah, so he was a walk-on with the Hoyas, as I show the picture right now to Austin Lane.
That is awesome.
He has added some LBs since then. And
by the way, that jersey, that looks like it's like 2 sizes too big on him.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, it's crazy. If you search for Brendan
That's how
Gaughan's
they win it back
backstory, it's crazy. That and the fact that they own casinos in Las Vegas, his family does, the South Point Casino. So that's why his fire suit is a little more snug around the belly. Living that casino life,
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to get to victory lane then. I think
no, he's out here to have a little fun. He's racing 4 races this year, so He's here to enjoy himself.
You know, when I grew up, when I was talking about NASCAR a lot up in Albany, New York, or racing a lot, not just NASCAR, he was a big star in the Trucks series. Brendan Gaughan was. And even when I first got here to Jacksonville, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy in that and the Xfinity series, just the up-and-coming young talent and the folks who just want to keep racing. You know, they want to keep doing it a little bit, have some fun. And so you have some older names in some of those lower series, those different series, as well as those guys who want to make a name for themselves and move up and eventually be in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series.
Yeah, I had trouble spitting that out earlier. Brett Martin along with Austin Lane, Action Sports Jack Stewart Weber with us here live at Daytona International Speedway. Been a lot of fun this afternoon hanging out at Daytona. But you mentioned that charter stuff. The moral of that story is the duels used to be more fun because more was on the line.
Right.
And do you think it's better during the day or at night?
I kind of like it at night. I don't mind it being at night. It changes it from the race, I'll say that. You don't gain anything as a driver from it. Well, you do gain some things, but not as much as you would in the daytime, because this track is going to act so much differently when the sun's out and when it's not,
Absolutely.
just as far as track
Heat's
temperature
a big
goes.
Deal.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why, the major teams here probably have meteorologists on staff, to tell them not only during the race when it's going to rain, but also just leading up to it so they can kind of plan it out a little better. Is it going to be 70? Is it going to be 60s? Huge difference for setting up the car with that temperature shift.
Part-time job for Mike Burrish or Garrett Beatonbaugh.
So
they want it.
Beatonbaugh actually did some NASCAR forecasts back when he was in Charlotte in college. Fun fact.
There you go.
For one of the I think it was the Speed Network at the time that he was doing it for.
What should we be watching Sunday in the race? Really, what do you think? You like this stuff. You pay attention to this stuff. What? Again, I will say, I'm not going into the old NASCAR's dying thing. I do think it's void of stars right now. I think one of the biggest stars is a guy that people like to hate in Kyle Busch, and you need that part.
Yep.
But you also need the lovable ones and the guys that you can go buy shirts and hats and get behind. And I don't really see a lot of that coming into 2019.
And they're working on it. It's such a huge void that was left when Dale Jr. kind of jumped out.
Yep.
As far as that guy that you love, that guy that is the all-around, everybody wants him to win every single time if possible. And so, you have all these other guys who are trying to work their way in, but you got to be successful. You got to go out there and win the races in order to get them. And you think about maybe a Martin Truex type guy, but he's getting older now too, so he's not going to be around for forever in this top series as a top driver. So you really want some of those young guys to step up. And Chase Elliott has won that most popular driver the past couple of years. And again, that's on name value because he's Bill's son. So, but that's kind of how the sport is. A lot of it is family driven, and you go by the name that you recognize.
So one of the problems, though, too, with all those guys, even with names, is you need personality.
Yeah, and Chase does not really have any personality, to be honest.
I mean, so when I was a kid, obviously, I was a huge NASCAR fan. But we actually had some ties where my stepdad was friends with kids that were, I don't know if you've heard of the racer called Dick Trickle. That's actually his real name.
No, I've never heard of him.
Okay, well, that's his real name or whatnot. But, no, so he was from Wisconsin Rapids. Okay, I'm making sure. I don't know. So, I mean, it's not like he ever won a lot, but he's from Wisconsin Rapids. So
it's kind of the punchline at times.
Yeah. Well, so my stepdad was friends with some of his kids. So we were like a big NASCAR family. We used to always watch Dick and everything like that. So I grew up in it, So I grew up with Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, and those were like polarizing figures. I mean, there used to be Jeff Gordon like drops and rap songs, like they were popular. So like my question is like Jimmy Johnson won 5 championships in a row. You can argue he's probably the greatest driver of all time because no other drivers ever won 5 championships in a row.
He's one of 3 who's won 7, so yeah, he's right up there.
But he doesn't have the personality because he should be the biggest name in racing, and maybe for a while he was the Home Depot or whatever, right? No, Lowe's. I'm sorry, I was way off. The Lowe's. But it
there goes
like
another sponsor.
By the way, they'll both love the fact that you got him in there.
I know,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. But
NASCAR, you got to get them all in there.
But it seems like when he took over and he started winning all the time, the sport started to die out.
Well, that's the funny thing is you say that because you don't want a guy to win too much.
Yeah.
You want a battle. You want 2 guys to go head-to-head at the end of all these races. You were talking about it, the Earnhardt versus Gordon special last night that they aired on Fox Sports 1. That really showcased when NASCAR was at its height of popularity, because of those two guys, because you had that struggle between them.
And on top of that, though, you also had this transition from generation to generation.
Yeah.
The problem with this generation is they lack the personality of that generation.
Right.
Earnhardt the Intimidator, from Richard Petty to all those. There was this feistiness about this sport. Then it became Jeff Gordon, a little bit of a pretty boy sport. You made a ton of money. You were a rock star.
Very
and
corporate.
it kind of took away the grittiness and that
True.
down-home feel in a NASCAR. I think it did hurt a little bit.
With corporate sponsors, that's something they have to balance right now,
That's
too.
what happens when money comes
Yeah.
in. You know, the money started pouring in bigger than ever, and you get caught up in that. You know, we may look back at it down the road and say it hurt the sport. Although a lot of people got rich off the sport.
If it hurts the sport enough, the money will go away, and then maybe you'll get more sponsors back, or more personalities back like that.
Maybe
Who
you
knows?
could do that. Hey, more to come, including Stay in Your Lane. Maybe right out here on the High Banks on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jax with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from ESPN 690 and Action Sports Jax, and we know who the football team of the year is. Yep, the Patriots again. What you may not know is my friends at the brand new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville have the North American Utility Vehicle of the Year. They raise that trophy. It's the new 2019 Hyundai Kona, and this is a super slick crossover utility vehicle. I encourage you to swing by the Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville showroom on Atlantic Boulevard and take a look at this new crossover utility vehicle. The Kona is offered in 4 trim levels: the SE, the SEL, the Limited, and the Ultimate. Go see my friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville and schedule a test drive and order the new Konas today. And remember, Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is the home of the 7-day money-back guarantee and offers the limited lifetime warranty. That's good anywhere in the United States. Visit the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, hey.
New phone?
Yeah, brand new.
You happy with your wireless company?
Very happy. I mean, with my plan, this phone was included.
When I switched to my wireless company, I got $650 to pay off my old contract.
Well, I get unlimited talk, text, and data in Mexico and Canada.
Well, I get discounts and gifts every Tuesday. And did I mention my phones were included?
Wait, your phones were included too? Who do you have?
T-Mobile.
Oh, me too.
The happiest customers in wireless are with T-Mobile. Join T-Mobile today and get 2 new lines of unlimited with 2 phones included for just $100 a month. That's right, 2 new lines with 2 phones included for just $100 a month.
$90 for essentials plus $10 for select phones via 24 monthly bill credits with autopay for well-qualified buyers. During congestion, customers may notice lower speeds and further reduction if using more than 50 gigs per month. International data at 2G plus taxes and fees. Qualifying credit, finance agreement, and service required. Revel 2 0 down plus $7 for 24 months, $168 before credit, 0% APR. Contact T-Mobile before canceling service or credit stop. Remaining balance is due. See T-Mobile.com for offer details.
Hi, this is Stan Nagel for Energy Seal Foam Insulation. Summer's coming, guys. Remember last year when you were burning up and your electric bill was off the chain? Why not do something about it this year and call Energy Seal to come out and fix your home for you? This summer, cool off that bonus room and really be able to use it. Spray foam insulation really works. Call us today and save 25% off our summer rates. Call 888-306-3626 or look us up on the web, EnergySealToday.com. Call us now, 888-306-3626. We're Energy Seal, sealing in energy and saving you money.
You look at the way Paul George is playing, and you look at Russell Westbrook, I don't think anybody can deny Oklahoma City may be the biggest threat to the Golden State Warriors.
The Stephen A. Smith Show, weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Hey, it's Trey Wingo from Golic & Wingo. You're listening to Action Sports Jax with our friend Brett Martineau. We know you're shocked he came off the golf course to actually work, which I respect.
That Trey Wingo guy, he's so good in this business that he even segues right into it for us. We're at Daytona International Speedway today, but yesterday we're at TPC Sawgrass and home of the Players Championship. And how about this? We have a chance to give you some tickets to the Players. And it's all about the Captain's Club, a daily ticketed venue, inclusive beer, wine, and soda, food available as well for purchase. But you can win tickets to the Players. Here's what you do. Go to ESPN690.com. Newly updated website, like as of today. And it has the contest on that page. So you can check it out. ESPN690.com. Win tickets to the Players. And then we'll see you at the Players Championship. Brett Martin along with Austin Lane, Action Sports Jax, Stuart Weber here as well. Coos back in the studio, and the scene here in Daytona just got a little bit more interesting. I wish we could spin the camera around and show them. I mean, what the wizard sticks, but the one dude, like
this,
the one dude with the shirt off.
I'm not exaggerating. He's probably like 16, 17 beers deep right now.
His wizard stick says so.
Yeah. Like that's pretty aggressive for him. What time is it right now?
I mean, I saw him
5:17.
I saw him walk by about 2 hours ago, and the wizard stick was not as big.
Wasn't that long, yeah. So I don't think they probably. I don't know if they had like a beer bong or something going on, but yeah, they downed about 5 extra beers in the span of 20 minutes.
They got a little bit of everything going on. Hey, we have Stay in Your Lane coming up, which is appropriate from here at Daytona. But I do want to read this statement because yesterday on the show we talked about Matt Kuchar in the caddy, in that whole story where he paid the caddy $5,000, but the caddy thought he should have had $50,000, and it was a club caddy, not his normal caddy, when he won in Mexico late in 2018. Well, here are the ramifications of a story like that, and you never win the PR battle. We said that. We said you can't win that. You win $1.3 million. The optics on that are bad for the golfer when you only give a guy $5,000. I don't care what the reasoning is. And so Matt Kuchar said, this week I made comments that were out of touch and insensitive, making a bad situation worse. They made it seem like I was marginalizing David Ortiz and his financial situation, and it was not my intention. I read them again and cringed. That is not who I am and not what I want to represent. My entire tour career, I have tried to show respect and positivity. In this situation, I have not lived up to those values or the expectations I've set for myself. I let myself, my family, my partners, and then close to me down, but also let David down. He goes on to say he plans to call David. He does not say monetarily what he's going to do, but he also says he is going to give back to the Mayakoba Golf Classic to the charities because of some of the negative storylines that came with winning the Mayakoba.
Yeah.
Listen, good for Matt Kuchar, or you might say, yeah, right, he had to do it. It was the PR move.
Sounds like he's got a pretty good publicist.
But the bottom, I will say this in defense of Matt Kuchar. This is a guy that you look out on the golf course, and he's always smiling. I think he's got a reputation as a good guy, a positive guy, a guy that treats people well. That's at least that I know. You never know the stories that are buried deep in the hallways and the locker room of places. But that's the perception from the outside. I think we all kind of said this is probably not the way you should handle this situation. There were some reports that he did try to give him $15,000, and then the caddy said, I don't want your money, because he wanted more money. So the bottom line is he had to fix it. He's fixing it. And I think it's the best way to handle it for Matt Kuchar, because overall this is a guy who's in his mid-40s, has made a lot of money on tour, has won a lot of big events, is a world-class player, but has represented the sport pretty well and really well. And so I think it's important for him as kind of that clean guy in the sport, known for being the nice guy, to at least come off this way. Right or wrong, however you feel about it, whether he was forced to do it, wanted to do it, this is the right solution to it.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm still going to heckle him at Sawgrass, but it's all good, man. I mean, I'm glad you apologized and try to make it right. But just because you apologize doesn't mean you can't erase the fact of what you did. Listen,
I think there's some debate about what he did, though.
Okay, well, that's what I was saying. Like, listen, we can't justify exactly what happened because we only kind of have half the story. So, yeah. I mean, whether the contract was real where the guy was only supposed to make, 5% or something like that? Or
well,
not even?
A club caddy like that during a week would normally make $3,000.
Okay.
What turned out is Kuchar won for the first time in 4.5 years. So he made all this money.
We don't know the dealings of what went down and everything, so it's hard to comment on it. Obviously, from what the information that we have, it kind of makes him look like he stiffed his caddy a little bit. It made him look like a bad guy. So from just as far as I know, I kind of agree with that. But listen, at least he's trying to make it right. He's trying to donate to some charities and whatnot. Good for him.
And what this reference is, earlier in the week when asked about it, Kuchar said, I thought what I gave him was fair. And that was really where he got in trouble.
Yeah, that wasn't a good look.
Because what he should have said is, hey, listen, we tried to offer more money. We gave him $15,000 more. I probably should have done that in the first place, but he didn't want it once we said it, and then it would have been a different story. Then it would almost made the caddy like, all right, dude, I mean, you get $20,000. That's a big difference between $5,000.
Well, then obviously the caddy's not helping either by like going to the media and whatnot and saying like, hey, like I got stiff at this much and everything.
Well,
so
actually, I think he might be helped by that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
At the end of the day,
everybody's on his side. Everybody's against Kuchar.
Sure,
he probably strokes a check and bingo.
But maybe instead of just kind of being a man and going up to Kuchar one-on-one, just being like, hey man, I feel like you kind of stiffed me a little bit there. What can we do to make this right? And then maybe go in that direction. It's not a big headline anymore, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know exactly what went down.
When there's money
all the
changing,
things.
It's a perception play.
It is a
I mean,
perception
that's what happens today's day and age.
Yeah.
We don't know all the details, but you can't win the perception play.
Yep.
Bottom line is, it's just worth getting it done with.
And I'm still
kind of like the NFL did today.
Well, like I said, Brent, I'm still gonna be at Sawgrass about 10 beers deep, and I'm gonna let him know how I feel about
him. Make sure you're not next to his dad. Now his dad still lives in Ponte Vedra Beach. He'll probably be at the course, and my money's on his dad if he.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang, Brent, we're supposed to be partners, man.
Yep.
That's exactly how you feel, huh? Okay, that's fine.
His dad's a nice man. He's nice.
I'm
really
just kidding,
family.
obviously. I'm not going to tackle him.
But that was a bizarre story, interesting story coming out in the golf world in the last couple of days. All right, stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. Yeah, so my laptop's dead, so I'm kind of freestyling this whole segment and everything. But hey.
Do you need me to stall?
Nope, we'll make it happen.
I mean, I can do this.
No, it's okay. It's thank God I have a steel trap for a mind here. I can remember what I kind of wrote down. Stay in your lane, cruise control.
I just like that you do the homework for it.
You have to, man.
You write it down.
You have to.
Because I'm not going to lie. Sometimes while on the phone, I'm like, dang it, I forgot.
Yeah.
I got to go get one real quick.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I saw some notes on my cell phone here. But hey, cruise control. It's a big UFC weekend. It's a big Bellator weekend. Not sure if Brent's going to let me talk about that stuff in this show or not.
We already did with Jeffrey Earnhardt.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about the pay-per-views or anything. Brent, these are big-time pay-per-views.
No, listen, I told you can do on Fridays an MMA Minute.
Okay,
Here it is, combined with Cruise Control.
Seriously?
Yeah.
All right, well then, Cruise Control. Let's go with the MMA breakdowns quick. Hey, so listen, we got a lot of fights coming up this weekend. UFC on ESPN, the first one on ESPN solely. Francis Ngannou, Cain Velasquez. Big heavyweight showdown. Obviously, you got Cardio Cain, arguably one of the best heavyweights of all time, coming back from a 2-year lapse where he had an injury. I'm pretty sure he's got like some kind of cage around his spine. Like the dude's taken some pretty gnarly hits and whatnot. He's had some disc injuries, some bulging discs and stuff like that. He's coming back. Obviously, his last time in the cage fought Travis Brown, who was a striker. Really surprised a lot of people in the fact that Cain didn't rely on his wrestling, but actually relied on his striking a little more. Threw a spinning back kick. Never thought I'd seen it. Well, he's fighting now the monster, Francis Ngannou. Ngannou, a guy who the UFC is trying to groom, try to make that UFC champion. He's a freak of an athlete. He's a monster, a specimen, if you will. The thing with Ngannou, obviously, he kind of had some red flags going into the whole wrestling thing. He couldn't wrestle, couldn't defend the takedown. He lost against Stipe Miocic. Let's fast forward a little later now. Curtis Blaydes comes in. Another guy that people thought could be the next champ. Curtis Blaydes, who's a more decorated wrestler actually than Stipe Miocic is. Francis Ngannou did his thing against Curtis Blaydes, defended the takedowns, showed improvement. So it's Francis Ngannou versus Cain Velasquez. It's going to be a huge fight, almost pay-per-view worthy. Also, let's not forget our friends at Bellator. Bellator, we got a big fight between Matt Mitrione and Caratana, actually tonight going down. Matt Mitrione, former New York Giant, now obviously in Bellator, lost to the semifinals to Ryan Bader in the Grand Prix. Still a hell of a fighter. Fighting the Caratana guy who a lot of people don't know about him because he's been off for a while, but when he was fighting regularly in Bellator, was one of the most dominant heavyweights of all time. So once again, a great fight. And then obviously, I'd be remiss to say, and he was part of my whole cruise control segment, Michael Venom Page, MVP, fighting Paul Semtex Daly. Quick story about MVP. His dad just passed away a couple days ago. He's still choosing to fight. Balls to him because obviously it's a hard thing to get in the cage and fight, but let alone your father passing away, who he was really close with. So props to MVP for fighting. But now, breaking down this matchup, MVP, a guy you probably guys, if you do know him, you know him from his flying knee that he landed on Cyborg Santos, actually fractured his skull completely. I'm not sure if you've seen the x-rays. Brent, have you seen the x-rays of this guy's skull? Yeah, actually fractured his skull, and after he did it, he threw a Pokeball at him because, that was then when it was Pokemon Go. So he threw a Pokemon Go ball at him to kind of, celebrate, and probably not the best taste, but whatever. People were talking about it. It was on social media. So Michael Venom Page, that dude, is fighting Paul Semtex Daly, who obviously they call him Semtex for a reason. He's got power in his hands. It's definitely going to be the biggest test for Michael Venom Page. I think that Venom Page gets it done, but let's keep in mind the mindset that he's going to be in his father passing away. But keep in mind, too, two guys from England, but they absolutely cannot stand each other. So it's going to be an entertaining fight, and that is on Saturday. UFC fights on Sunday, and the Matt Mitrione-Caratana fight is tonight.
MMA Minute just went 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Maybe
I
4.
try to make it as fast as possible.
That
I'm
is
shocked.
impressive, man. I mean, I have no idea what you're talking
That
about.
was freestyling, too. I had nothing to go off.
I mean, that is good stuff.
Appreciate it.
That's nobody talks it better.
Yeah, there you go. And
Nobody.
And then we still have Pump Your Brakes coming up, too, the next segment. And maybe if we have time, Brent, I don't know what your schedule's looking like, but I have another game for you if you're interested.
A game and some hot takes.
All right.
Stay in your lane. Continued. Stay in your game. Coming up as well on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the Anthony Davis saga continues over in the NBA despite there being no chance he gets traded for another few months. Today, the New Orleans Pelicans announcing they're parting ways with GM Dell Demps. Sounds like not being able to rein in their disgruntled superstar was the main factor.
New Orleans owner Gail Benson was especially livid last night, I'm told, with Anthony Davis leaving the arena before the game was over. He had an injured shoulder. And left the building during the win over Oklahoma City.
Elsewhere in the NBA, Russell Westbrook extends his record for consecutive games with a triple-double, and boy, did he go in last night. Westbrook putting up 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against New Orleans. There is nobody playing better basketball right now than Russell Westbrook. Apologies to the Beard and the Greek Freak, but Russell Westbrook is locked in. And tonight, the NBA's Rising Stars Challenge takes center stage at All-Star Weekend. Tip-off at 9 right here on ESPN 690.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau. Get the protection you deserve from the IRS. If you've received a letter from the IRS and cannot pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Once again, get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Also find them online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. Once again, a click or phone call away, 904-507-4777, or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
Peace of mind. It's one of the most important things we have, and sometimes the most elusive. I'm Glenn Levine from the law offices of Anajar and Levine. If you've been injured in a slip and fall accident, call us at 904-600-4000.
Office in Jacksonville.
Your lack of retention is a breathtaking thing that should be among the 7 wonders of the world.
I couldn't see the uniform through Devon's smoke.
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz. Weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio. Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Hey, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, everybody. We've got qualifying happening, and we've got a trucks race tonight, Xfinity Series tomorrow, Daytona 500 on Sunday. It's a beautiful day. Sun starting to go down a little bit over the speedway. Nice crowd on hand, and we're kind of right in the middle of it all. So if you're watching on the video platforms, you can see, and we might even have to jump on the bounce house a little bit right after this. 194 miles an hour around the track. Seriously, would you jump in a car and go?
Oh, heck yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's like we were talking with Jeffrey earlier. He said it's quite the rush. It's way crazier than MMA is. So he said that. I'm like, dude, I got to start racing, I guess. Because I'm about the adrenaline rushes.
What we have, it might be too much racing, so you might not be able to do it today.
Yeah.
But you have to try to get across the track and just walk the track.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that here?
I have
You've
never.
never been here.
No,
so
never been here.
If you haven't been before, like on race day, they'll allow, depending on what time it is, they let the fans kind of get on the track, and you can actually sign the finish line and all that.
Yeah.
But you have to experience it instead of watch it.
Sure.
It's like I liken it to Augusta National and the Masters. The first and like ninth hole especially, but the whole course is very hilly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of terrain at Augusta National, but you cannot see it on TV. Like, you don't believe it until you go there and you walk it.
Yep.
And you see the inclines and the downhills. Well, it's the same thing here. They call it high banks for a reason.
It's insane.
The incline of this track, I mean, is a sincere walk. Like, I don't know what it would be on the treadmill. What do you think? You go to Orange Theory all the time, Weber. What's the incline here on this? They don't even
13, 14.
Yeah, higher than you could even create on a treadmill. Like 3 times that, probably, right? So what do you go, like 12 on an incline on a treadmill? That's like the highest it can go, 12 or 14.
15 usually.
15.
Yep.
I would say double that, and it's incredible. But you almost like have to walk it to see. You don't get that feel on TV.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, and I mean, just being that close to the race too, I'm sure would be pretty insane. I mean,
I've sat around the corner before. Like sometimes we sit in victory lane.
Yeah.
But you actually get rubber pellets like coming like off the tires.
Yep.
That hit you if you're close enough.
And like I said, I've been to some races and whatnot, but one of the coolest experiences that I've ever had was I was in Gainesville. You know, I think they call it the Gator Nationals for drag racing.
Yeah.
So actually,
coming up.
Yeah. So I had a chance to meet Ron Capps. So we hit it off right away. One of my friends, her dad was like a big supporter of his, like a sponsor or whatever. So we got pit passes and everything. And actually, get this, I got to stand on the track with his pit team when he took off. So literally, I was like, not exaggerating, probably like 200 feet away from the car as it took off. Like I was right behind
Those dudes go like 320
or
something.
It's out of this world.
It's unbelievable.
It was an experience, and I've never been to a drag racing event before, so I had no idea what to expect. And it's amazing just how much power is behind one of those vehicles.
Quick story on that. We go to do this. Dan Hicken and I just watched the video last night. Actually, back in 2014, there's a promotion with the TV station and the Gator Nationals.
Okay.
And so they say, hey, part of the promotion, you're going to go drag race, you against Dan. And so I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. We can do it. I was going to spring break, actually, on the other side of, like, Southwest Florida. So we stopped there first. Kids came, family came. And so Dan and I are, like, going. We don't really know much. They didn't tell us much. They just said, hey, yeah, you're going to drag race. So, I'm like, okay. Yeah, we didn't think much of it. We get closer and closer, and we start thinking, like, are we really getting in? Like, how safe is this?
Yeah.
Like, to do this? Like, they go like 300 miles an hour in 4 seconds. And I've seen those things, like, explode. So
all the time.
I don't know if I like the idea of this. So we really had no idea, but the whole time we thought we were doing that. Well, they get us out on track. You're in this line. All of a sudden, you're just like this exhibition right in between like a normal race.
Yeah.
And a Toyota Camry pulls up.
Thank God, huh?
So we drag raced in Toyota Camrys down the track. We got about the 85, 90 miles an hour.
Still a cool experience. Did you win or not?
I did, but it was contested because they thought it's a red, yellow,
it's all about reflexes.
green.
Yeah.
And they said I jumped it, although I don't feel like I did. Like, I didn't intentionally jump it, but they said that I hit it on the yellow and not the green.
It's all about the reflexes, man.
So I did win in my mind.
Yeah.
And I won't tell anybody the rest of that story,
although
I just did.
Yeah, you pretty much explained the whole thing.
But I'm telling you, man, I thought I was going 320 miles an hour in one of those deals.
That would be quite the experience.
Right up until that Camry pulled up.
Yeah.
All right, stay in your lane, pump your brakes. You can't pump your brakes at 320 miles an hour. You need a parachute.
No, I think you're just going to pray, hope it works out for the best. So I got to give my props. And, you know, it's a pump your brakes, but I'm still giving support to my man, Blake Carringer from Tennessee, 6'6", 315 offensive tackle. You heard of this guy?
I have heard of him.
You know why you heard of him? Because he doesn't exist. So he was actually a made-up catfished recruit that Rivals and 247 Sports gave a three-star rating to. And, the kid never existed. No one ever saw any film on him or anything. And
did he get a scholarship offer?
I didn't get a scholarship offer, but he claimed to have offers from like Alabama, Tennessee, and whatnot. And whatever reason, I hate to call you guys out, but 247 Sports and Rivals gave him a 3-star thing.
The
doesn't even exist. Hey, and meanwhile,
stupid.
I couldn't even get a half a star, and I was trying to bust my butt. And this guy gets 3 stars,
and he doesn't exist.
Doesn't even exist. So. Shout out to high school ranking systems.
That's awesome. Hey, Kuz, you still back there? You awake?
I'm here, man. I'm chilling. The sun's kind of blinding me, though.
Oh, really? It's coming through the window.
Yeah, I'm not used to that. I pulled the blinds up, and now I'm getting, now I can't see anything.
You got some hot takes for us, or are we going with the game? Where
do
you want to go first?
I say we go games first, then hot takes, if that's cool with Brent.
Let's do it.
Kuz, hit me with it.
Welcome. I want to play a game.
Yeah. Did you recognize that soundbite? Saw 1 through 20.
Nah,
Oh yeah,
why do I have a feeling this is going to be an embarrassing segment?
No, it's not. So, truth be told, me and Kuz had a different plan going into this. Because I think every Friday it's going to be games day. It's just how it's going to be. So we had a different game in mind, but I'm thinking since there's UFC, Bellator, and also a WWE pay-per-view Elimination Chamber coming on this weekend, I figured we'd do a little rehash and we'll do the whole: is it a UFC fighter or is it a wrestler for his nickname again? So.
Well, we going nicknames again?
Yeah, we're going nicknames again. I know. What is
like,
this,
you have
amateur
enough
hour?
of these nicknames that we did it
Brand,
last week?
I have nicknames for days, sir. So, I mean, we can literally play this game.
How many do
for
I
another
get?
Year. So today we're going to go with 7.
7 of them?
Yes.
So it's a 7-game series.
Yep.
Me against you.
Correct. Last week didn't perform so well.
No, we did 10 last week, and I went 4 and 6.
Yeah. So hopefully this week you can redeem yourself a little bit. You know, it's kind of another week of hanging out with me, starting to get to know more wrestlers, get to know more fighters. So, Brent, let's see what you got, man. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. First nickname. Is this a UFC fighter or a wrestler? Cupcake.
UFC fighter or wrestler.
And Misha Tate, a former UFC champion, nicknamed Cupcake because, well, she loves cupcakes.
That's a dumb name, man, for someone who's trying to be tough.
Just saying.
Especially a female.
Hey, Brent, first of all, she would absolutely beat you up in a heartbeat.
I know
so
who
let's,
Misha Tate is, but I didn't know
pump
her
the brakes.
Cupcake. I wouldn't call her Cupcake because she kicked my butt.
Okay, fair enough. Number 2, El Kukui. And also a bonus point if you can tell me what El Kukui means. El Kukui, UFC fighter or a professional wrestler?
UCF fighter. UFC fighter.
UFC fighter? that is correct. And what does El Kukui mean, Brent, for a bonus point?
Champion.
Boogeyman. But yes, you are right. He is a UFC fighter, Troy Ferguson. I'm sorry, not Troy. Tony Ferguson.
What
Troy
does that
Ferguson's
mean?
my friend.
That means boogeyman?
Boogeyman.
And what, like, is that Hawaiian?
No, it would be Spanish.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Yep. Hispanic, I guess. Yeah, Hispanic.
Okay.
Yep. Number 3, the Eater of Worlds. Is he a UFC fighter or is he a wrestler? The Eater of Worlds.
I got the guy in my mind right now, the what's his name? George the Animal Steel eating the turnbuckle.
Okay.
All right.
That's not him.
That name
yeah,
drop?
I mean,
I know,
that was a great name drop.
Great name drop?
Yep.
So I'm saying wrestling.
That is correct. Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
2 for 3
2
right
and
now.
1.
Yeah, 2 for 3, 2 and 1. All right, number 4. The Korean Zombie.
Korean Zombie. Is that a Korean? Is there any Korean wrestlers or are there Korean UFC fighters?
Is the Korean Zombie a UFC fighter or is he a wrestler?
I think I'm going with wrestling here.
Oh, I think you're going to be wrong. Korean Zombie is a UFC
Korean
fighter.
UFC fighter?
Yeah.
Is that popular in Korea?
Not so much. So, quick fun fact with the Korean
Whoever
Zombie.
said he knew.
Yeah, you knew that?
Put the pressure on me.
So with the Korean Zombie, he actually, so in Korea you have to serve a amount of time in the military. So he was a big UFC fighter, had to serve like 3 or 4 years, but out of the UFC came back.
Okay.
Hell of a fighter.
2 and 2.
But they call him the Zombie because he can take a beating. The American Gangster. UFC fighter.
That's a wrestler.
That is not a wrestler. That is Chael Sonnen, who's an ESPN broadcaster now, former UFC guy. American Gangster, Chael Sonnen. Ooh,
2
Brent.
and 3. I need these last 2.
All right.
I'm back at home, though.
The Beast from the East.
There's been so many UFCs now.
UFC
so now I'm like,
fighter.
It's like I'm like the roulette player that's hit black.
I know, man, but hey, you don't know. I might have threw a lot of UFC fighters in there.
From the East has got to be a UFC fighter.
The Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow, a professional wrestler.
Oh my God.
Brent, the wheels are coming off real quick. So.
It's over.
Well, the last
I lost
one.
in 6.
Well, I guess we can just for for fun, the last one here. UFC fighter or wrestler? The champ that runs the camp.
That's a wrestler.
That is a wrestler. AJ Styles, the phenomenal one. Ooh, Brent.
That's
not so pretty
3
today,
and 4, man.
Gosh.
3 and 4.
Man.
Hey, Kuz, do me a favor. We're going hot takes next. And please don't go wrestling or MMA.
Deal.
Please, please, please. We end a Friday with some hot takes from Daytona International Speedway, live on ESPN 690.
It's Golick and Wingo.
Boston was a pit of misery outside of the Celtics for decades in terms of winning. Okay, you had the Celtics and you had everything else that was kind of a big bowl of crap. These sports fans in Boston, they really have no idea how good they have it, and I wonder what it's going to take for them to understand the embarrassment of riches that has come their way.
Golick and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
I really couldn't play golf. I couldn't even walk very far.
Here's Nancy Anderson to talk about her experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
I chose Southeast Orthopedic Specialist because of the reputation of the different surgeons and the hospital experience, and just overall, I'd heard so many great things. And truly, my life is enriched tenfold because now I can do anything.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
Hi, it's Nathan from Gordon Chevy in Orange Park, where our no bull pricing and express sales process will have you out the door in a new Chevy fast. No bull means fast, fair, and transparent. It's what you can always expect at Gordon Chevy. And somehow, I fat-fingered the order for 2019 Colorados and ended up with over 100 in stock. So right now, you can get up to $4,000 off. That's the truck everybody's talking about, the Chevy Colorado. Only at the money-saving end of Blanding Boulevard and online at GordonChevy.com. Chevy, find new roads.
The spread and that college-style offense. Listen, in 3 years, you might see the Big 12 be run by the NFL because it's the exact same kind of offense that's going on here.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Oh, Brent. Sorry, man. 3 and 4. I'm going to get better.
Hey, you know what? I'm not mad, just disappointed.
I lost the 7-game set. I don't like to lose.
Well, just wait till you see our plan for next week's game.
I can't wait.
Yep.
Afternoon turning into evening here at Daytona International Speedway, and we'll be live on TV at 6:50 tonight on Fox 30, and then again late shows after the trucks race, 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, CBS 47, Fox 30. Once again, a reminder, we'll have a big special from Daytona tomorrow on Fox 30. I'm sorry, Sunday on Fox 30 at noontime. So hopefully you can tune into that. And as always on the TV side, 10:30 on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47 every Saturday and Sunday night. Action Sports Jacks Prime Time, brought to you by Jenkins Hyundai. Stuart Weber will be in the driver's seat tomorrow, so hopefully you can catch him and then Dan and I on Sunday night. Do want to remind you that you can win tickets to the Players' Championship if you go to ESPN690.com. You all right over there?
Yeah, I had the white.
Did you just hit yourself in the face?
I hit myself with the microphone and the whiteboard here because I forgot I had the whiteboard and I didn't.
I'm trying to give tickets away for the Players' Championship.
Sorry, man. I was trying to make a sign quick for the folks at home watching, and
it hasn't been a lot of whiteboard magic.
Well, that's why I said sorry. I forgot I had it here because I had my food was on top of it the whole time, so didn't really get to take advantage of the whiteboard today, unfortunately. But hey, there's always tomorrow.
Hey, you want tickets to the Captain's Club, a daily ticketed venue with inclusive beer, wine, and soda? Check out ESPN690.com. Upgraded, brand new website just launched today, and there's a contest tab on the website at ESPN690.com. You can win tickets to the Players' Championship, so go check that out. Time for some hot takes. What's happening, Coos?
Oh, not much. You ready for these? You got to win at least 2 of them so you can come out a winner today, you know?
I know. I'm already
probably not going to happen, Coos, but let's see what he's got, huh?
All right, hot take number 1. It's pretty simple, NFL related. Just says the NFC North is the best division in football.
Brent, since you're in need of a win, I'll let you take it first here.
No, I'm going to cancel that out right away. The NFC North is not. I think Minnesota will be interesting to see what they become. The Detroit Lions should even be a part of this conversation. And Green Bay has a lot of rebuilding to do around Aaron Rodgers. And Chicago, don't be surprised. I don't think they'll be the Jags in terms of 5-11, but a lot went right for the Chicago Bears. So I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year. Here's the deal. The NFC West is probably the best division in football. The Seattle Seahawks are coming on. San Francisco has a ton of money, draft picks, Jimmy Garoppolo hopefully healthy for their sake. The Rams just went to the Super Bowl, and I know Arizona's Arizona, but you have 3 teams, I've said this before, that you could pick any one of those 3 teams going into next year to go into the Super Bowl. I don't think that's a stretch to say.
From top to bottom, honestly, The AFC South may not be that bad either, just from, the Texans, the Colts, the Titans.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm not saying they're dominant, but I'm just saying from teams that can get in the playoffs.
Depth.
Really, depth. Which leads my point to the NFC North. So Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, you're never going to count him out. Always has playoff potential. They have a new defensive, philosophy coming in, new coach coming in, everything like that. Curious to see what happens with that. Chicago Bears, listen, that defense, the monsters of the Midway, you can always bank on them. They're in playoff contention as well. Detroit Lions, hate to tell you, probably not going to be knocking your socks off anytime soon. Minnesota Vikings, hey, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, Kirk Cousins. You can't really count that team out either. So from a depth standpoint, 3 of those teams can make the playoffs easily. So when it comes to the best conference, I mean, the best division, I look at teams that can make the playoffs, and the NFC North has 3 teams that can make it. So I'm taking them as yes. They are the best division in the whole NFL.
I won that one, Coos.
All right, we'll let you claim that one. And
that's how it works. Brent just says he wins and he wins. That's cool. All good.
It kind of follows up with what you were saying, Brent, because you mentioned him. It's about Garoppolo now, and they were asking in this Reddit thread, what do you expect from him this year? The guy's response, I want at least 25 touchdowns and under 10 interceptions, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, 25 and 10 is always a good mark to have for a QB, but I don't think you're going to the Super Bowl or making big waves in the playoffs if that's all he does, 25 and 10. I'm not as concerned about the 10. If you have 12 or 13 picks, I don't think that's as big a deal, but you probably got to be up over 30 touchdowns to do what they want to do offensively, what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. And from their infrastructure, I wouldn't put it past them, especially they might be the favorites to potentially land Antonio Brown. What I'm concerned about are 2 things from a Jimmy Garoppolo standpoint. One, how healthy will he be? We've said it all the time. ACLs, if you watch guys play their first 6-8 games, you're not as good right out of the gates from an ACL. The other part of it is Jimmy Garoppolo comes with all this acclaim, and he's still played like 10 games in the NFL. The story is unwritten on Jimmy Garoppolo. In fact, we haven't even got through chapter 1 on Jimmy Garoppolo. So to steal a line from my friend Austin Lane, I would say pump your brakes a little bit on the Garoppolo stuff, especially coming off an ACL.
So what are you saying? He's not going to have those type of numbers? No. Hate to tell you, Brent, but I think you're wrong with this one. Listen, yes, he tore his ACL, but what year is this? 2019, man. We're talking stem cells. We're talking a bunch of things in Germany happening that you don't even know about, Brent, all right? I have the insider information on it. This guy's going to come back 100%, and he's got weapons. The quarterback's best friend is who? The tight end, George Kittle, one of the best right now in the game going. We got Marquise Goodwin, speedster, a guy you can just throw up the ball and say, go get it, and he'll get it. Now, the running game, Matt Breida. One of my fantasy picks that didn't pan out for me this year. Not a big deal, though, because guess what? Doesn't matter who they put back there, they're going to have success. Doesn't matter who the running back is, they were dominating the whole season. So from that aspect, the run game, a pretty solid defense, a tight end that's quarterback friendly, and wide receivers that can burn the top off, I'm taking Jimmy Garoppolo all day.
Oh, man, I'm going to say that's a toss-up. You guys both made pretty good points there.
Well, come on, Coos. I mean, get off the fence, dude. You at least have to pick Austin here to make number 3 good.
Here's the thing. Garoppolo in 2018, I'm looking at stats right now. I mean, obviously the injury, but before he went down, still had 5 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions with 718 yards. So you'd assume, if he continues that, he could get over 27.
Come on. All right. I'll take it.
Well, I think more critical. Kyle Shanahan's really good. So
yeah, that's true.
To me, it's more about Shanahan and what they put around Garoppolo. And Garoppolo might be elite. We'll find out. But I say let's wait and see.
1-1. That's what I say. I say 1-1 right now.
All right. The toss-up, number 3, the tiebreaker, which actually goes into another one that Brent alluded to, is a comment that says, I'll bet $10 the Cardinals trade Rosen to the Steelers, and then Rosen becomes the heir to Ben's throne.
I mean, I think we're both on the same side with this one. It's hard to pick against it.
I mean, this is the bottom line here. Don't lose sight. I don't think people believe in that Arizona came out and said, "Hey, Josh is our guy." Yeah. You have to believe it. Mm-hmm. First of all, that's what they said, so I'm going to believe it. I know there's a bit of being naive in that, but you can't say that he's your guy and then trade him 2 months later. I mean,
you're going to lose the entire locker room if you do that.
You can't do that. So they came out, which surprisingly, I thought was a little stunning that they did. The only thing I thought they did by that is say, hey, we need to endorse this guy. We don't want this floating around for the next couple of months. And then on top of that, they could already start accepting offers for that number 1 pick if people wanted to trade. So I guess that's why they did it. But I was a little surprised because I thought they might have I thought it would be better for them to float that out there and their leverage in a possible trade scenario, an unpredictable play of having that number 1 pick maybe would benefit them. But they obviously saw more of an upside to give Rosen the endorsement.
And obviously this is tinfoil hat, but how crazy would it be if they had Rosen and they traded up to get Kyler Murray, and then they had a duel in training camp, and then they traded one away? I mean, they'd probably trade Rosen away then. I mean, hey, the Patriots spent a first-round pick on Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
Listen, somebody suggested that. No, second-round pick.
Okay, second.
It was a high second.
But, high second, yeah.
That's not a terrible thing to do. I mean, we go back to Washington, right? Cousins and RG3. That was beneficial for the Redskins to do that. The Jags and any team in the NFL, that's why I say keep an eye on Tampa Bay. I still think Tampa Bay might chase one of these quarterbacks saying we're not convinced about Jameis Winston. That is the smart thing to do. But they already have some weapons. They've already, their offense, they got Evans.
Mike Evans.
And they have tight end from Alabama.
Oh, O.J. Howard.
O.J. Howard.
Yep.
So they have some weapons.
I'm pretty sure Jackson might be on his way out pretty soon, Deshaun Jackson.
It sounds like he wants out.
Yeah.
But my point is, if you're unsure about the QB, I think right now Tampa's in a situation the Jags kind of were in last year, where they're not 100% all in, but they're going to give it a shot. Well, if you are, learn from the Jags' mistake. You got a chance to go get another quarterback. Worst thing that happens, trade that guy away because Jameis Winston's going to Pro Bowls. That's fine.
No, agree. And especially Adam Humphries kind of came on this year too. And Grant, I think he's a free agent, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucs actually bring him back because he's a guy that can show he can actually play the 2 position too from Deshaun Jackson. So, yeah, as far as the talent's concerned, I mean, if you're a quarterback, you got to like throwing the balls to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers receiving corps. One
more thing about the NFL. I think we just did a show. It's 5:53 on a Friday.
It is.
And we hardly mentioned, or maybe never mentioned, JAGS, the Jags.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk much about them. We talked a ton about them all week long, especially with the Flacco news and the Antonio Brown stuff earlier in the week. So it's been a wild week. Not as much today, but I do say keep an eye on this. You just showed me a report. Charles Clay got cut, or is getting cut.
Yep,
also, there's a bunch of guys right now in the NFL. Word's starting to be out that they're getting cut. Tuesday, the 19th, is really the day where guys are going to either you might know that they're going to get released or not. That's like the first start of it because Safarian Jenkins already tweeted that he's out of here. But the Jags came out and said, well, we have until the 19th to kind of figure this out. So keep an eye over the weekend and also Monday and into Tuesday to see what the Jags maybe start to do in terms of getting rid of some of that salary cap, getting rid of some players. I think we're about to see some movement is my point in NFL rosters.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And look at, and a lot of people have been saying, like, well, why don't they just cut Blake Bortles already? Like, they should just cut him and release him. Well, you never know. Someone might want to trade for Blake Bortles. So, there's always a fine line.
They got a 6th-round pick for Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, exactly. So there's always a fine line of do you cut somebody too soon or do you hang on to him, hope for a trade? I mean, if I'm talking about Blake Bortles, Blaine Gabbert, I don't say Blake Gabbert. If I'm talking about Blake Bortles, I'm saying, hey, where's the fire? Like, if someone wants to trade up for him or trade some picks away, so be it,
Problem
man.
is dollars there, unless he totally would agree to something else. But we'll see what happens. But keep an eye on Tuesday. And over the weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if you got some NFL news. Of course, the big news this week for the Jags, Josh Alambo, given the extension. It was good to catch up with Josh yesterday during the program. If you missed it, you can check it out on the podcast, Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Check it out on all the social media platforms as well.
All right, Brent, so before we leave, big question for you. Who's going to win the Elimination Chamber this week and who you got?
What's the
Daniel Bryan? Sounds good. All right. That's what I figured too. Daniel Bryan it is.
I can't wait to hear about it on Monday. Hopefully you enjoyed the trip to Daytona.
Dude, it was awesome, man. Like I said, I grew up a NASCAR fan my first time here, and it was everything and then some.
All right. For Austin Lane, Justin Kuzart, Stuart Weber, I'm Brent Martineau. Check out the new website, ESPN690.com. Win some tickets to the Players' Championship. Hopefully you'll do that, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Make sure you check us out on CBS 47 and Fox 30 all weekend from Daytona, including tonight. I'll see you on TV.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the Anthony Davis saga continues over in the NBA despite there being no chance he gets traded for another few months. Today, the New Orleans Pelicans announcing they're parting ways with GM Dell Demps. Sounds like not being able to rein in their disgruntled superstar was the main factor.
New Orleans owner Gail Benson was especially livid last night, I'm told, with Anthony Davis leaving the arena before the game was over. He had an injured shoulder. And left the building during the win over Oklahoma City.
Elsewhere in the NBA, Russell Westbrook extends his record for consecutive games with a triple-double, and boy, did he go in last night. Westbrook putting up 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against New Orleans. There is nobody playing better basketball right now than Russell Westbrook. Apologies to the beard and the Greek freak, but Russell Westbrook is locked in. And tonight, the NBA's Rising Stars Challenge takes center stage at All-Star Weekend. Tip-off at 9 right here on ESPN 690.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jax and ESPN 690. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville is the home of the North American Utility Vehicle of the Year, the 2019 Hyundai Kona. This new crossover utility vehicle is a perfect fit for a family who doesn't need as much room as the Hyundai Santa Fe, but more room than the Hyundai Elantra. Their customer service is top-notch at